everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, Montgomery Township Board of Education School Board meeting. Statement of open meeting and public participation. Pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 31, PL 1975, adequate notice as defined by Section 3D of Chapter 231, PL 1975, has been made by regular mail or email on the 11th day of January 2026 from the Board of Education offices maintained at 1014 Route 601, Skillman, New Jersey, to the following: the Courier News, Montgomery Township Clerk, and the Rocky Hill Borough Clerk. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. It is the school board's intention to conclude this meeting no later than 9 p.m. Roll call, please, Mr. Chaliani.
Dr. Wang?
Here.
Bedford?
Here.
Spina?
Present.
Frank Herman?
Present.
Ms. Walling?
Here.
Ms. Harris joined us yet? Mr. Nunez? Here. Ms. Norgan?
Here.
Mr. Todd?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please rise as we salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now have our MTSD student representative report.
Thank you. So I just wanted to begin April recognizing this is Autism Acceptance Month with the official day on the 2nd, where the community shifted focus toward the acceptance and appreciation of neurodiversity. But before that was spring break, 1st to the 6th, and on the 1st was Passover starting at sundown, Jewish festival celebrating freedom, and on April 5th, another holiday was Easter Sunday. Got to eat lots of chocolate bunnies, even though I have a bunny of my own actually, her name's Lana. And it's a Christian holiday commemorating the resurrection of Jesus. A PTSA meeting took place on April 8th, and from 11th to the 12th was Cougar Robotics at District event, and it was a successful weekend of competition and teamwork. Vaisakhi Day on April 14th was recognition of the Sikh New Year's Festival, and I think Fast Assembly took place on April 15th, where upperclassmen attended an interactive session on the dangers of vaping and substance abuse. The Sensation Showcase was April 17th, a celebration of cultural diversity held in the Unpack with Bollywood dances, Bhangra, and lots of culture. Earth Day was April 22nd, and it was observed on the 2026 theme, Our Power, Our Planet. The JAMnesty event is an Amnesty International Club event, hosting their fundraiser in the main foyer. And some upcoming events are NJSLA science testing. I'm the only grade that doesn't have to do that, by the way, thankfully. And they will follow a special testing schedule on Wednesday and Thursday. The MHS Instrumental Music Concert, first one will be on the 22nd as well at 7 p.m. And something that's really exciting, actually, I found this out today. Montgomery High School is partnering with Fairground Farm, providing families with fresh local produce while giving 10% of every purchase back to district programs. The produce will be rotated weekly and will depend on the season, with customizable boxes. Full of vegetables are also available with hot sauce, fruit butters like peach butter. I tried it today, it was amazing. Flour's available as well too. Anyone go to prom? Any kids? No? Oh, no kids in the audience today, okay. And students can now earn volunteer hours by assisting with the weekly distribution and logistics of the farm share program. So this isn't exclusive to kids in environmental club either, it could be any kid from the school. And if you're more curious about this, basic training starts next week, and we can tell you your kids. And for more information, you can reach out to csa@fairgroundfarms.com. Just send them an email, and it's pretty exciting stuff actually. Like, they have some really tasty stuff. You guys should check it out.
Fairground Farms, that's the name?
Fairground Farms, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the 2026-2027 budget.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open the public hearing. Any questions on the motion? Hearing Hearing none. Roll call, please, Mr. Taliano.
We just do
Voice vote.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you. All right, now begin the Dower public hearing on the budget's open. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Taliano. I'm your business administrator, and to my right is our superintendent of schools, Mira McLaughlin. And we'd like to welcome the board and our guests in the audience to our 2026-2027 budget hearing. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for their continued support through this process. As many people in the public might not know, this takes about half the year. This is a 6-month process that begins in the fall, culminates with our public hearing tonight. And our budget hasn't changed since March, but we really want to kind of dive into everything in a comprehensive manner to let the board know what they supported and like how that helps our students and our district. And we're going to begin, Ms. McLaughlin is going to go over the roster of officials and the goals, and then I'm going to take it from there. So, I'm going to pass to you.
Good evening, everyone. As Mr. Taliano said, our budget is directed by our goals that we create every year. Our first goal is the student experience. It's also part of our strategic plan. Aligned with that, we recently, well, a couple months now ago, had an update, and we'll have an update at the end of the year. So the student experience, student achievement, teaching and learning. Our second goal is communication, community engagement, and outreach. And our third goal is climate and culture, SEL, cultural sensitivity, health and wellness, and resilience. So Mr. Taliano is going to go over tonight's overview of the presentation.
Okay, I'm going to go over our agenda and give an introduction to our presentation. After that, I'm going to pass back to Ms. McLaughlin, and she's going to highlight on some of the above and beyond activities and curricular offers that we offer at Montgomery that I think separate us from the rest of the pack. Then after Ms. McLaughlin highlights on some of the curricular activities that we have at the school, I'm going to close out the presentation with the dive into the expenses and revenues of our budget. That being said, for the overview of our presentation, right here, I'm going to talk about the key drivers of our budget. When I speak to drivers, I'm speaking about the key fixed expenses: salary, healthcare, energy, which all went up over 2%. Everybody knows about a 2% cap. Most of our salaries, they're north of 3%. Our healthcare came in at about 17%. Our energy costs for electric and gas are 8 and 15% respectively. That's a challenge. It's a challenge that the administration is faced with, but ultimately, we need to support our students and avoid cuts to programs so that the students aren't affected as best as possible. Also, we're proud to report out that based on the challenges and the extreme healthcare increases, there's no new activity fees to any of the parents for any of the programs that we have. We're maintaining our same menu of choices next year as we have this year, and we shouldered that by basically threading the needle and really looking at operational expenses to not affect the classroom activities and put any more expenses out to our parents and community. Next slide that I have is what is a school budget? It's a brief overview. Our school budget's a planning tool. It connects the school budget goals to our resources. Priorities are decided, student achievement, and which programs we could run. Then the budget shows how the money will be used to support them. The budget guides our decisions in advance. This is our plan going into next school year based on our goals. What are our priorities and what could be delayed? The budget's a working budget. That means it's flexible and can be adjusted because things happen. We have contingencies. It's responsible. As I mentioned earlier, it's a reflection of our goals. And also it has to be forward-thinking, and it considers regeneration of revenue based on our spending history. And we want to try to rebuild our reserves year in and year out, which is called our fund balance, which is our unexpended funds at the end of the school year, which would be our balance as of June 30th. Next slide is our cost drivers. These are the main key fixed expenses that we're contractually obligated to operate our district. Salaries and our union contracts. We have 3 unions. We have our teachers union, our administrators association, and we have our transportation union. And then we have all of the other employees of the district that are not affiliated with the union. Those comprise the salaries of the district that are represented in our position control roster. Our next key drivers are health benefits, energies and utilities, and as we all know, inflationary increases across the board, which I just want to touch base on a moment. Inflation has hit all of our wallets at home. The school district's no different, especially with the high healthcare costs that we're experiencing. Regardless of those challenges, Mr. McLaughlin, my goal was to deliver a budget that would insulate our students from these key cost drivers without cutting programs and without putting activity fees forward. And we're proud to report out that we believe that we did that. Expenses change, but taxes don't. Expenses can change during the school year. Facility repair break, more students move to district, special ed costs fluctuate, transportation costs fluctuate, cost of supplies, materials, energy, they all fluctuate. But taxes and state aid, they don't fluctuate. The district faces new expenses and challenges. The district can't go to the school board and say, please give us more money if expenses rise. The administration needs to figure that out. And in order, we try to cut supplies first. Then unfortunately, it might be we have to cut some repairs, cut some projects, cut some upgrades. The last resort would be to cut staff and programs. As I keep mentioning, and I kind of want to remind the board, and we're going to get into this a little later, we're very proud of the offerings and the programs that we offer at Montgomery, and I think that's what separates us from a regular district and many of our others. We're going to dive into those programs, and we're very familiar with the performance. So with the challenges that we have financially, we still kept the programs, and we didn't put any extra costs in program fees that you've probably seen a lot of other districts put program fees, activity fees, cut their extracurriculars. We didn't do any of that. We just kind of took a little bit from everybody as a shared sacrifice that hopefully isn't felt by any program and operational expenses to keep everything moving in the right direction. Budget challenges. Expenses are going to continue to outrun revenues in the future. We have union contracts for the next 3 to 5 years. They're over 2% every year. We have historic healthcare increases. The renewal is around 17% next year. As you'll see in a slide that I have a few slides later, the regional average is about 16.5%. So for a district that's in the private plan, we're no district different than anybody else. We just face that challenge and we have to figure it out. How do you figure it out? It'll become necessary to reduce expenses, increase revenue, or do both in order to balance the budget based on our fixed costs and contractual expenses. That's why I want to highlight, it is necessary to increase revenue if the board and community want to desire to maintain the current level of programs and activities that we offer here that we're very proud of, and I think that's what separates us from a regular district. The point that I'm trying to drive home is we are paying a little bit more. Some of our fixed costs that are out of control significantly increased, but our menu of offerings are still strong and the same. So that's what we're very proud that we were able to maintain for our students. I'm going to pass back to Ms. McLaughlin, and we're going to kind of go over some of our courses and offerings that we're proud of.
So as you all know, Montgomery, depending on where your child goes to school, you might not know about the high school yet, but we have a robust offering for our children throughout the district. Just as an example, we have over 20 advanced placement courses. We have 6 courses right now that are concurrent enrollment with Seton Hall University, which means that students are sitting in our courses at Montgomery High School, earning college credit if they wish in these 6 classes. It has always been a goal for us with concurrent enrollment to gradually increase so that students are offered more and more opportunities. I want to point out, like for example, our AP Economics. Some schools offer micro or macro or both separately or one and not both. Our students take the robust course of AP Economics and are eligible to sit for both tests at the end of the year. So these are just some of the robust course offerings that we have here at Montgomery. Yes. So just to highlight a little bit, we also have the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy, acknowledged by the New Jersey Department of Education. When a student achieves mastery of 2 or more languages, this year we had approximately 100 students participate in that. This is another program that we offer for our students that is not common everywhere. As you can see, for next year, we're looking to expand our concurrent enrollment to include Spanish 4, English 11 honors, pre-calc honors, calculus, data science, analytics and visualization, AP environmental science, AP computer science, and chamber choir. These are all exciting courses that students love to take, and we are happy to offer them the opportunity to also receive college credit. And we're expanding our AP course to include AP research. We wanted to expand a little bit more, but we know our financial constraints, and we'll try to progressively, slowly move into increasing those. We also base all of our days on our inclusive practices. We have, as you've heard, we had students come and present. We have a unified programming that integrates students with and without disabilities in sports, leadership, and school activities to create inclusive school communities, improve student outcomes, and foster culture of belonging. Unified programming aligns with the Unified Champion Schools framework. We also have other robust programs to support diverse learners, right? We have basic skills programs, we have special education services, and differentiated instruction throughout the district. So not just to focus on the high school, our P12 curriculum is progressively challenging and developmentally appropriate at all levels. Some of our highlights, we have the STEM highlights throughout the district. As you can see, we have the nationally acclaimed robotics team, top nationally ranked science Olympiad, dedicated computer lab for engineering and architecture classes. We have TV production and radio broadcasting studio. Most districts don't have these. We have the Science Wings Makerspace. For our visual and performing arts, we have a photography darkroom, digital photography, graphics and design lab, and we have a high percentage of choral and instrumental students accepted to the NJMEA regional and all-state ensembles. We have state champion marching bands, state champions. The wind ensemble was invited to the NJMEA state conference, and we have a top-of-the-line ceramics studio that is also being used by the township to have some class offerings in the evenings. Some of UMS highlights are architecture, graphic design, industrial materials, computer languages, web design, and robotics. Our Gifted and Talent program has UMS podcasting studio, LMS stop motion filming supplies, STEM engineering kits, and LEGO robotics kits. So through our curriculum, we provide depth, right, in all of our programs with a broad breadth, right? Our outstanding STEM, arts, tech, math, language arts, world language programs with strong outcomes, right? High achievement and high college placement. So we have a lot to offer here in Montgomery that we're very proud of, and we do our best to maintain and continue to offer the programming that will challenge not only our students, but also meet their needs and their interests.
Before I move on, I'd like to add, we become accustomed to this robust menu of choices that we have. In other districts, as I mentioned earlier, there's not such a menu. At my hometown district, there's 3 AP courses. My daughter takes all 3 AP courses. It's a great district. these opportunities, not even close to this many opportunities. We become used to it, we're maintaining it through these challenges, and we're adding to it, not only for our students' rigor, but also to maintain our higher ranking as well.
And
So
our
that's-
reuse with the state, yeah.
so it's important on a multifaceted approach. A lot of these slides are repeats from March, but I'll go through them. I'm going to go through them a little quickly. Budget development process. Like I said, it's about a 6-month process. It begins in the fall in October. We ask for requests. We review requests when the winter comes. In January and February, we start analyzing the requests, meeting with our budget managers to say what's possible, what's not, and that's when the hard decisions begin. Move forward. In March, we have to finalize our budget for our preliminary budget hearing, which we had on March 24th, and then it gets sent to the executive county superintendent for review, which it did, and we passed that process. And then that brings us to the culminating event tonight, which is our public hearing on the budget. This is just a timeline of it, and as you see at the end of the timeline, I have 2 days after our public hearing tonight to post our budget to our website, which I will do. These are a repeat of some of the numbers from the last presentation. This here is our total spending per pupil. Now I do have to go to my glasses. Yeah, I thought I was going to be able to get away with it. Okay, so our spending per pupil, as you can see, our spending per pupil is $30,391. We are right in the middle of the pack, and we are doing better than some of the other districts that we're often compared to, like Princeton, Bernards. So total spending per pupil, and I'm going to switch to the next slide, cost per pupil. They're a little bit different. We still rank the same way. We're right in the middle of the pack. This is historical data, so it's always running behind. But as you can see, we're around the $19,000 area, which is right in the middle, which is better than the other 2 districts significantly that we're usually compared against. The difference between the spending per pupil and the cost per pupil, the cost per pupil is a figure that includes all of the classroom costs, but not the total expenses to the district. Some of the expenses to the district that are in the spending per pupil are like transportation, your legal fees, your debt, your out-of-district placement students, things of that nature. They're taken out of the cost per pupil, which is the metric more often used because larger district might have more legal fees. Transportation is different all across the state, but everything in the classroom, that's the same regardless of how you get to school, what your debt challenges are, and what your legal challenges are. And as you can see by the cost per pupil, which is the one that's most popularly used, which you can kind of get this data from the Taxpayer's Guide to Spending, we're performing better than the districts that we're compared to that are considered the higher performing districts in the area. So to be able to perform and still have a competitive figure, that's something to not talk too lightly about. As you can see just from the bar graph right here, again, we're right in the middle before they peak to the last 2 districts on the right. And I don't know if it's them. I don't know what their challenges are. It's just nice when your numbers are better than worse. I want to kind of put that out there. Okay. How your tax levy is calculated. You have your starting base. That's our tax levy from this school year. We're permitted a 2% base. And then based on certain circumstances, there are different healthcare adjustments that the board can elect to use. As I said, this is a historical healthcare increase that we had this year. So the board elected to use the healthcare waiver and the expiring bank cap, which brings us to the figure of $97.4 million, which is a net impact of a 6.37% local tax increase. And as you've seen some of the other presentations in the area, if you haven't, the number around the 6% area, that is the standard in the area. If you want to maintain the level of programs that Ms. McLaughlin reflected on before, I'll also note, but I'm not going to name the districts out of respect to my peers, there are many of the districts that have an increase like this and still cut their programming, still cut their extracurriculars, and still put activity fees out to their parent and community on top of it. So it was very important to us that we knew that this was a challenging financial landscape with the healthcare increases to not put any more burden on the community than we have to, and for what they're paying to not take away from the robust offerings that we mentioned just a few moments earlier. This is just another way to look at the numbers. So this is the total budget from 25-26, the current year, to what's proposed for next year. And the total budget increase is 5% because as time goes by, your debt decreases. So even though the tax increase is higher, the debt is timing out. So it's a total budget increase of 5%. Our major sources of revenue, they're local taxes and their state aid. It's very, this wasn't on purpose, but I find it very interesting. Our local taxes, they're about 82% of the revenue sources for the budget. It's about 82% of the budget is salaries and benefits. Most school districts are about 80 to 85% is salaries and benefits. A regular business in the private sector is about 60%. So you might go, why is it so much more for a school district? School district's a people business. It's human related. There's only so many students in a classroom. There's many teachers and staff members, so there's more staff to run a public school than there is a private business. So just keep in mind, all of the local taxes go to support all of the salaries and benefits in here. So the small amount of state aid and other revenue sources that we have left over, that covers everything else. There's not that much left over. This is just another way to look at it. The large part of the pie, the 82%, that is like the local taxes for the general fund. As you can see, the next slide over there is the state aid at the 6% figure, and then there's a couple of other small pieces to the pie. Use some of our maintenance reserve to fund extra maintenance projects in the budget that would have been cut if we didn't use these reserves, but they're projects that we think are necessary. Our capital reserve, we have 2 regular operating district projects that are part of this budget. They were due to time out if we didn't entertain them. They are HVAC projects at our middle school and our high school. In summary, what a regular operating district project is a grant from the state where the school board pays 60% of the project and the state pays 40%. If we let those grants time out and they weren't part of this budget process right here, we would have still had to do the projects and pay 100% for them. So that's why you have a working budget, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, where you work on having a fund balance in June so you could replenish your reserve accounts, offset and put some tax relief to the future, so when opportunities become available, you need to have the cash to entertain the opportunities. Appropriations, these are our expenses. Our regular programs are our K-12 programs, our basic skills. We have our support services, which is our nurse, our guidance, our curriculum and instruction, special services, our administration, which is held to a cap. Folks might not know, in order to get our budget passed by the county office, we can't just carry as many administrators as we want. There is a regional cap, because every socioeconomic area is different. So in our Somerset County area, there is a cap. That means we can carry a certain amount of administrators based on the enrollment and the revenue for our district. So we have to meet that number. Then there's operations and maintenance, transportation, benefits. These are the same challenges that every school district has. Appropriations. So you can take a look. Our employee benefits, they're 25% of the budget. Take a look at our regular programs, about the same. So our healthcare costs the same amount as our entire K-12 general ed operation. So at the end of the day, that is what it is. Everybody knows that healthcare is a challenge in the United States, not just to the Montgomery School District, not just to the school districts in Somerset County and everywhere. So that's just a fact of life. So Ms. McLaughlin and my goal is, let's not affect those regular programs, because that challenge on the left, as I mentioned earlier, those expenses are going to continue to outrun the revenues that you folks provide for us and we're grateful for. So our job is not to affect that piece of pie on the right. And it's not easy. We really have to thread a needle to do that. And the way that's done is just really analyzing every budget request from every budget manager and having honest conversations about what is necessary to keep the rigor and what's a wish list item. And that's why it's a 6-month process. This is a new slide from last time. These are healthcare increases by some of the local districts in the area. Healthcare is a hot button right now, so I wanted to give two perspectives. First, I wanted to show some of the neighboring districts. This data source was from their budget presentations that are on their websites that I drew this from. As you can see, the average of the districts is 16.5% healthcare increase. We're at 17%. We're right there with everybody else. So at the end of the day, some are higher than others. Princeton 15.2, West Windsor 18. Everybody's around 17, just like us. So we all had to face the same challenge of this historic healthcare increase, but at the end of the day, deliver for our students. I think we really delivered. I looked at some of the other presentations. They did their best too. I think we kept our menu of choices status quo with that on the slide right there. Very difficult to do. Now, data that I don't talk about often, but I think is important. Below, you're going to see the state healthcare plan. That had a 32% increase for year 2026. 17% is not too bad when you're comparing it to 32%. Their healthcare plan, the prescription plan that's part of the state health benefit plan, that went up 58%. So sure, is our number desirable? Is it double digits? Is it the highest I've ever seen in my career? Yes. But in perspective, compared to the state health plan, it's 50 cents on the dollar. So here's one thing that's important. You want to be in a private plan, in my opinion, because in a private plan, just like with your home insurance, your auto insurance at home, you could shop it out to try to get the best deal available, respective to your collective bargaining agreements. You have to have equal to or better than care that's in the agreements. So our broker shops that out every year. They shop the risk out. Some people, they look at the risk, and as time goes by, your staff gets older, the risk gets a little worse. Some of the private plans, they don't put a quote. Some do. We take the best one that's available. When your risk becomes, I want to use a positive word, less than favorable, that the private plans do not want to give you a competitive renewal in the future, that's how you unfortunately end up in the state plan, because a private plan doesn't want to pick up your risk. Fortunately, our risk is managed very well. So even though it's a very expensive renewal, it's still competitive and much better than the state plan. And we're already working on a program to reduce it for the 27-28 budget cycle. Right now, we're one of 2 districts that are working with the broker that are actively working on a plan that's going to, I really can't get into the details too much, but it's going to need collaboration between the board, the attorney, and the different unions that I mentioned before. But there is potential to significantly lower this cost the next year, even if the renewals are high, if we could have a collaborative approach that's not going to affect anybody's level of care, it just might affect the mechanics of the delivery. So my point is, I want to offer the board options on healthcare as the costs aren't going down anytime soon. So at the end of the day, when things are expensive, you want the best price available, and I'm working to do that. By looking at the numbers, they're not the best, but they're better than they could be. Our enrollment trend. So the first 9 years of this data comes from our certified audits. The last number is an estimate that the administration came up with. As you can see that the numbers for the upcoming school year, we anticipate that they'll be down about 2.9%. Unfortunately, there's been talk in our study of different housing developments that we're going to bring families and students to the school, and we hope that they come, but they haven't showed up. So that's why, unfortunately, we continue later in the slides. You're going to see that we had to do some targeted salary reductions and different cuts to the budget based on this. So some of our fixed costs are going up, but even though that they are, if your enrollment is trending down, you have to make adjustments. And we believe that we made the adjustments in the right areas. But again, They didn't affect the menu of choices that Ms. McLaughlin focused on earlier, and at the end of the day, we're here to support those menu of choices to give the students the best opportunity that they can for the future. Okay, so balancing act. So it's a different slide. If you look at the picture on the left, that's like in the silver or the gray. Those are all the initial budget requests that we received in December, along with all of our fixed costs. Millions of dollars higher than we actually can fund. So we have to go through. We cut $2.4 million of wish list items to our facility. Cut $1.4 million worth of salaries. $440,000 worth of supplies. And $100,000 worth of professional development. All very difficult choices, but at the end of the day, as I mentioned earlier in my slides, you have to make priorities. What do you have to do now? What can you wait till later for? The items that we have here, less the salaries, we determined those are things that we could wait for later because we want to be able to affect the students in real time. And if we did some of these things, we would have had to cut programs and put activity fees out. And we decided to strategically target some of our facility projects. Some of them are going to wait. As I said, the salary reductions, they were targeted based on enrollment. And these are things that many of the districts in the area had to do. Just to highlight on the numbers for the healthcare. The healthcare adjustment that we took was $3.1 million. The 2% tax levy was $1.8 million. And the expiring bank cap is the $875,000 figure. So those are key revenue sources. As I mentioned before, 82.2% of our budget is salaries and benefits. As you can see from my note on the bottom, that's right in the middle of the range for the state average. It's just the cost of doing business. Most of our budget goes to our staff. These are the two regular operating district grants that I was proud to mention that we're doing for next year that this budget's going to support, which is an HVAC upgrades to the lower middle school and HVAC upgrades at the high school. And these are going to be targeted upgrades at our high school. That's going to be some rooftop units that affect the building. And we're going to try to put some rooftop units that also are in the pool area because I went to the pool for the first time last summer and I left 30 pounds lighter. So we definitely need we need to move some air around in the pool. So that operating grant right there is going to do that. And thanks to the state of New Jersey, we're going to save 40 cents on the dollar. Lower middle school, they want the air conditioning too. Again, the total project award is up to $1.9 million, and the board is going to support 60% of each of these figures. That's the $2.2 million of capital projects that are in the budget resolution that we're going to mention later. That concludes our presentation for this evening. As I said, the budget is the same from March. We just wanted to enhance the slides to give the board and the public the best experience we could. Now, since the numbers didn't change much, and we've had 6 weeks since our budget meetings from March 11th, I don't think that we're going to have many questions, but if any of the board members have any new questions that Ms. McLaughlin and myself didn't answer, we're going to open the floor up. This is a meeting of the board for any questions the board might have on anything that we presented.
Oh, sorry. Can you flip back to slide 27?
Sure.
This is the one with the healthcare comparatives.
Sure, give me a minute. This one right here, Mr. Nunez?
Yes, yes. So thank you for including this because this has been a question. I know it's been coming up, and it's not what I took away from this was this is not a Montgomery only problem. This is something we're seeing across the state. We fully verified it. And we're actually in the middle of the band, so we're in the right place. So it's one of those costs that I think when we look at the overall operating budget, it's an explainable cost increase. And it's an unavoidable one. I think you mentioned that we are working towards it. Can you elaborate a little bit on what we're doing to mitigate this longer term?
Briefly, because it hasn't been fully vetted, let's just give you an idea. First of all, I just want to touch base on the first part of your point. I completely agree with your analysis, Mr. Nunez. It's not exactly where we want the renewals to be, but it's middle of the road. We're right there, and it could be significantly worse if we weren't able to shop our risk and we were in the state plan. So yes, I agree with you on that. to your second point regarding what we're doing for the future, again, you have challenges. You have to just attack them as best you can. So we're working with our broker. Our prescription renewal was more than our medical care renewal because people use prescriptions more than they go to the doctor. And there's great medicines out there. They cost more. So what we're doing, to answer your question, is we're working with the broker to try to have the delivery of the medications directly through the prescription provider versus, say, go to your local pharmacy or to like a national pharmacy, like an Amazon pharmacy or CVS. So essentially, at the end of the day, if a staff member takes medicine X and it costs them whatever their copay is, we'll just like make one up right here, $30, they're gonna get the same medicine for the same cost or possibly less if they get a discount. They're just going to, instead of say, go on one app and order it one way and maybe pick it up locally, to go on a different app and maybe say have it a 90-day supply delivered to their doorstep. So at the end of the day, might it be slightly different? Yes. At the end of the day, if you are a staff member in this union and you needed medicine X and you're used to paying $30 for that, nothing is going to change. However, due to the fact that we're going to ask staff members to slightly consider changing their delivery of receiving this, and we're a public school in New Jersey, there's layers that we have to go through. We have to go through committees, we have to go through the board, we have to go through our attorney, it's contractual, we have to go through the unions. It makes sense to me. It's something that we're working the legality out on, and hopefully, if the legal paperwork is exactly like I just explained it when it's delivered to my desk, and everybody agrees that, all right, this is worth it to do for the better of the district, then that's something that we could do for next year. And the very raw preliminary numbers, just at a glance, that could save us $1 million next year, no matter what the increase is. So I think everybody at this table in this room would say $1 million is a significant amount of money to save to be able to get the same exact thing. That's as much as I could expand on that now. It's not a guarantee. I'm waiting for legal paperwork, and there's a lot of cooperation. That's the best I could give you at the moment. I hope that helps.
No, thank you, and I just want to point out, it's the right thing to do, right? We want to support our teachers, and it's not just contractually, but I think it's the right thing to do to make sure that they continue to receive the health care that we promised them. Does anybody, I got one more question. Anybody else? We jumped to slide 29.
Okay.
Can you help me understand a little bit on that, the second one, the salaries, the 1.4 million?
Sure. I'm just gonna come up here because I'm not gonna, even with my glasses, like I can't see that like, from where I am. I think I talk loud enough that everybody can hear me. So we're just gonna kind of walk through the ladder like you think. So like, the top cut is the largest one. It's $2.4 million. That is the facility and equipment cuts. I believe that there was a document that you requested that Ms. McLaughlin shared with you to kind of outline on that. Ms. Worland, I believe you asked for that information. We shared that with you the other day. That wasn't easy to do. Like those are things that we want to do, but we figured we had to make tough choices. We made those facility cuts at the betterment for our students to keep the menu of choices. Like I said, we're threading a needle and there's tough choices, so we wanted the students and the programs first. So that's why we kind of took the first step down the ladder. The second step, to answer your question, the $1.4 million in salaries. The best way that I can answer this question as the school business administrator is I have a position control roster this year for the 25-26 budget and the 26-27 budget. The position control roster shows every staff member in the Montgomery School District that draws a paycheck, what their building is, what their location is, what their position is, and they have a unique position code. And what I can tell you from my desk, this isn't like FTEs or who's being a reduction in force, who's retiring, who's losing jobs. This is just showing you based on right now what we know for our staff. They're going to be $1.4 million less in salaries. We've got 13 individuals that are working right now collecting a paycheck that July and September, they will not be collecting a paycheck next school year. Now, as far as the logistics of that, if there's this program, say, being reduced at the elementary school and that person's moving to the middle school and FTEs and all that, I don't really get into that. That's something that Ms. McLaughlin at Human Resources does. I did share with you the position control roster for next year's budget. It ties into all the salary lines and all of the staff members. And basically, at the beginning of the budget cycle to where we are now, there's $1.4 million less in salary that's in the budget than would have been if we didn't make the changes. I obviously can't mention the names or positions out of respect for the staff members. That's the best way I can answer that question.
Maybe the question then is to Mary. My concern with that second column is, I think tying it back to one of your earlier comments, 82%, is it 82%?
It's 82%.
82% of our operating budget is compensation and benefits to our people. Right now, to me, that number is a black box to know how much is proportionally hitting our teaching staff versus administrative, and how that impacts any cuts that are done there. So I don't know if you can elaborate on that. How are we making sure we're protecting the classroom? We have the right.
Yeah, that's right here. The regular programs, as I mentioned earlier, those are our K-12 general education teacher costs. The administrative line, those are the district administrator costs right there. And as I mentioned earlier, administration's held to a cap. Ms. McLaughlin can't have as many administrators as she wants. She can have as many administrators as the regional cap allows us to have. We are under the regional cap. Our regular programs and our staffing were adjusted based on enrollment for that without cutting any of those programs that we highlighted on before. I think that answers your question, but like if you need something else.
Elaborate on the cap. Is the cap a maximum, or is the cap a floor, or is it a ceiling?
So the administrative cap, usually,
Yeah.
the way you would look at that, it's a maximum. Most people have a challenge. Every year doing this is my 21st budget I've done. Every year it's a challenge. I'm over the cap at the beginning of the budget process to kind of look at that. And that's why we had, we did have a cut that was to this kind of level to kind of help us get below that. I don't want to kind of mention like the names or the people like here, but yeah, it is a cap. Every one of those districts that I showed before, like with the healthcare, every one of us is right at the ceiling of that. Nobody's at the basement of it. Everybody's at the ceiling. So we are not allowed to have our budget passed by the county superintendent unless we're under it. Yes, we are right at it, and it is a challenge to be right at it. Because some of the things that are in the administrative cap, Mr. Nunez, not only is it your administrators, your district administrators, your principals, you're also going to have all of your central office staff. You're also going to have all of your IT staff, all of the expenses that go to those departments, all of your legal expenses, all of your IT expenses. So your administration is not just the key administrators that you see, they're all of the administrative team and all of the expenses that go in it, and we're below that cap. The regular programs, like I said, is about a quarter of our budget, and we're keeping the staffing levels to keep the level of programs that we have that we mentioned earlier.
To me, it still feels a little bit like a black box. Understanding, like,
Explain
how
to me
much-
what you mean by black box, maybe I can help you better.
What is the administrative versus teacher split, and how was it last year? What is it this year after these cuts that we're making? Are we unproportionately affecting our
No.
teaching staff?
No.
But where do we see that?
So I'm going to answer your question. To ask me when I'm standing on the floor and everybody, what my splits were from last year administrative assistant, I'm pretty good. I've done a couple of these before. Nobody on the spot is going to know the answer to that. Let me finish. Nobody's going to answer the question. If you wanted a question with that level of detail, you would have needed to ask us before tonight. That I respect the question, but to know that like whole, I can't answer that.
I'm still struggling.
But if you ask me differently or break it down, maybe we could
I
chunk
asked
it
the
down.
question on March 20th, and this is where I've been struggling to get an answer to see how it impacts it. And I just asked for two numbers, like in the budget, what is our teaching and what's our administrative? In the
I asked the
categories
same.
as defined by in the annual plan. Like I might want to make up my own categories. I guess I was asking, like, what analysis did you go through to make sure the staff, the cuts were in the right place? Could that be
Okay.
shared with the board so we're
Good.
comfortable with it? Being 82% of the budget.
Good question.
It's not immaterial. It is the budget, right? That is the most.
So good question.
I'll cover you. I asked exactly the same question.
Dr. Wayne,
That's-
give me 1 second.
Yes.
One at a time,
I'm going to
please.
do one at a time. So I'm going to answer Mr. Nunez's question with Ms. McLaughlin. Hold your thought, and then we'll come to yours. Ms. McLaughlin, let's put you on the spot. Do you want to help Mr. Nunez and let him know how we work with each of the building principals and evaluate their schedules, their enrollments, the teacher staff? This is something like, I always speak for you, but we do together as an administrative cabinet.
Correct.
We evaluate the enrollment, the sections, all of those things.
The board
to the-
regulation on class size, the class offerings, all of that is considered.
But that's where like, it sounds like you've done a lot of good work there. What I'm asking is, show me the summarized output of that work. Or the board, not just me, but the board. We should be informed on how this is impacting teachers at a very summarized level, right? I'm not asking for names, just in total, what does it look like? Can we get two numbers, being 82% of the budget? And it's just, I struggle with that, to not know what it is and being asked to approve, I think it's like $123 million operating budget. And it's a question I've been asking for the past 6 weeks on a one-page slide on an explanation. And I'm gonna give you guys credit on everything else that makes sense. All the pieces are clicking into place. The healthcare costs, totally explainable. Some of the other questions on the budget we've worked on, got very good explanations on why that is, but the 82% piece it is the majority of our budget.
Okay. This is the best answer I could give you. If it doesn't answer your question, we'll come to your question here. Precision control roster that I shared with you, there's $65+ million worth of salaries. You take that in our healthcare, and you divide that by our total budget, it's 82.8%. So our salaries and our benefits are 82.8% of our budget. The splits and the things that you're looking for, that's not something that I typically answer. I'm worried about how many staff members does it take to operate our district. I get that from the superintendent of human resources. They did their deep analysis on what our classroom sizes are. They made cuts. That's something that I hate to say, at the board level, you have to trust us that we are staffing the district the right way based on what the student needs are and what the enrollment is. I understand you say that you've been asking for this for March 20th. I've given you whatever information that I can to the best of my ability. I gave you my complete position control roster that has over 1,000 lines of salary and code on it. That is to the extent deeper than I've ever provided for anybody before. If you're not comfortable with that, I can't help you. You're just gonna, and if you can't vote for the budget at the end of the day supports the staffing level that the administration think we need for the programs that we're providing for the kids. We hope that the board at the end of the day wants to support those programs for the students, and you trust your administration. There comes to a certain level that if you don't trust us, then I don't know what else to give you. You just might have to vote no for the budget if you don't trust us. That's my best answer.
You're looking at like proportions, right? We have approximately 40 admin, and we have approximately 710 staff members. So proportionately, of course, more from the one side would be to be the same average, right? Like one administrator is like 2 to 3% of all the administrators, where that equals like 15 teaching staff compared to the numbers. And we have 13
I
in
want to turn
total.
this into a working session. It's one of those numbers. I didn't just ask for two numbers. When we calculated the budget, what was the educators and what was the support staff? It's just very simple, because if we calculate it, that means we have the data. And I struggle not knowing what it is, knowing it's 82% of the budget. And the part of trusting, yes, I definitely trust you, but the board's responsibility, one of our core responsibilities is governance, not spectators. Show me the work that's been done. And I see everything else clicks into place, but 82% is just too big of an amount to not have a firm understanding, and also not understanding that this isn't unproportionately affecting our teachers. When I see that there's cuts in there, what is it, 1.3, 1.4 million? What is the right balance? And if you walk us through the logic, maybe I'd say, yes, it makes sense, but not knowing, a black box, not having any data points is very tough to vote on.
Where was this,
82%.
Mr. Nunez, where was this question on March 11th when we had our budget meeting?
I tried working informally through one-on-ones, through emails, and I can go, I wrote it down because I thought we were gonna get questions on this. Emails on March 20th, on the April 13th off meeting, realignment, April 14th off meeting, April 20th, asking for two numbers on a budget, knowing that 82% of that is this. There's a lot of great backup here on the 16% all other, but it's very tough to understand how this impacts our teachers, and I think we gotta put that first. Show us the work that's already happened, and like, I don't know why there's such hesitation to show us what's already been there at a summarized level, just too high level.
Because you're asking for, this is my presentation that I prepared for the board, and you're asking me on the spot for something else. I've done plenty of these school budgets. I don't know how many of these public hearings you've sat through for school budgets or your familiarity with this. This is standard. These here, appropriations and expenses, I looked at Princeton's presentation. I looked at West Windsor's presentation. I looked at many of the others in the area. They presented the data out the same way that I did. I've seen some of their videos. They didn't go to the extent that you're asking us to go to, and they definitely didn't get asked on the spot for the information you're asking for. This is the staffing level that the administration is saying to the board that we need to staff the school next year. You're not going to get the answer that you want tonight. I'm not trying to be argumentative with you, but you keep asking the same question. I walked up to you and I gave you the best answer I could, went to the slide that I thought I had the data. If you are not comfortable with it, or you can't stomach it, I can't force you to vote yes. You could vote no. Or if you really just don't support the budget in general, just say that and vote no. But at the end of the day, you said that the board member's job is governance of the budget. It is, but there's a difference between governance and the level that you're taking it. I answered your questions to the best of my ability. I want to speak for Ms. McBalkley, HR. I basically rely on them to tell me what staff members they need to run the school. I plug it in the budget. That's my job as the business administrator. That's my answer to your question. If it doesn't satisfy you, I can't. Hold, let me finish. I can't help you. I gave you everything I could.
The way I'm interpreting this is the key takeaway is 82% of our budget is a black box, and we are not allowed to know the split between educators and support staff, administrative. 82%. It's not, and again, 82% of a $123 million budget is material. That is the majority of the budget.
I tend to disagree with you for this one reason. This is going to be my last statement on this. I provided you our position control roster. I emailed that to you in the middle of April. It has every staff member in every building, in every department they work in. If you looked at that, you would see who works here and what they do. I provided you the document that I use as a business administrator. I put that together myself. It took a significant amount of time to do. All you had to do was read it and take a look at it. That would have answered all of your questions. It was there. You asked for it. I emailed it to you, I believe, in the afternoon of April 13th. I knew you were going to ask this question. I gave it to you. I apologize that maybe I deliver the budget different than maybe the town of Montgomery does, because guess what? A school district budget is different than, say, like a township budget. I presented it how I've done it my entire career. And I gave you a document that I've never given to a board member before to analyze. All of the positions, all of the departments were in that position control roster. All you had to do was read it and then ask me some questions. I never got any questions back when I gave you that document.
Mr. Unio, do you have anything else?
I do, and one thing, the board is not intended to be operational. A 15 to 17 page data dump with confidential employee information is not what I requested. I requested two numbers. In your budget, how much is educators and how much is administrative staff? If you don't have that number, what's in the budget then? I'm asking the sum total of your analysis, all your thought, everything that went into putting the budget together. Why can't we have two numbers there? And the data dump is not it. I don't want to be operational. I don't want to be the day-to-day. Give me the output of how many teachers we're impacting here, because to me, that's what I care about. I'm here, parent of three kids, 2 in our schools right now, 1 in daycare. I want to make sure that we're protecting the classroom. We're not disproportionately impacting teachers versus administrative staff. And I have zero facts to talk about 82% of the budget.
As a board member, you're here for all the students of the community, not just yours. I gave you the best information that I could, okay? And if you're just not satisfied with it, I can't help you, but to ask a question like that this evening and to have me stop and come back, what do you want me to do? You want me to calculate this? I did everything I could.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. White.
Mr. Italiano? Oh, it's not a question. I just was wondering if I could speak to the presentation to share with me.
Is that, now, I don't want to be
Let's-
disrespectful,
let's-
Dr. Wang,
let's
is that,
Dr. Wang.
I think that,
Yes.
yeah, let Dr. Wang answer a question, and then if you have some feedback that
Of
you
course,
want to
no
add that
problem.
could help with that one way or the other, then
Board-
we'll come to you
Board Member
next.
Wang.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. So I have two questions. One is also kind of related to headcount. Starting in July to April, we have 29 number of resignations and 15 retirement. That's add up to 44 separations. So how that contribute to our headcount? We also, I also asked the email our superintendent and also CC the president, board president here, and asked if we look at the J16, broken down by the categories, you reported it there, how this budget gonna impact the, I don't need the names, again, same category here. How many people will impact by this budget, by the instruction, by the supported services? Same question. I had a similar question, is how that. That's my number one question. And number two question that I had is because we see a significant increase on the healthcare part. So when I compare the actual budget, from July to March, that is 75% progress of the school year, right? So that is about 15 million actual budget on the healthcare, the public share part. So when I take a look at the bill list that the board has approved from July till March, that has a gap of 5.8 million. 5.8 million discrepancy between the actual budget from July last year till March this year and the bill list all the board have approved. 5.8 million. Okay, let me see where those numbers come from. October bill list, 10 healthcare entries under the count 11-000-290-270-02-00, that is the healthcare account. October bill list, 10 healthcare entries, pages 2 and 36. November, 9 healthcare entries, pages 5 and 44. January, 1 entry, page 9. February, 7 entries, page 26. March, 4 entries, page 29. When these numbers added up, I found there's a gap roughly 5.8 million. I requested multiple times, can we see the purchase orders from the healthcare providers and identify where the gap is, because we are going to approve the next year's school budget based on that 20 million healthcare cost from the school year for the next, right? Yep, up to date. I still don't have an answer. Maybe
Great.
you can help me.
Yeah, well, I can definitely help you. 3 parts to your answer. Number 1, I've invited you to my office multiple times to go over the data in person. I offered my clerks.
Everything can be documented
Dr.
and
Wang,
verified.
I'm speaking.
Let him answer the question, please.
Thank you. 3-part answer. Let's start again. I've invited you to come to my office multiple times. My door is always open. I offered my clerks to you to pull the data in person. I didn't hear from you. So that's answer 1. Ms. Warland last week, she wanted to come in person. My door was open. I met with her. We went over there for 30 minutes. We met for 2 hours. I'm here for anybody if they want to come in. You declined my request. Number 2, a member of the public reached out to the executive county superintendent, Roger Jenks, probably the best executive county superintendent in New Jersey, to ask for an additional review of our health care costs. Him and his business administrator, Dr. Obertar for the county, who are extensions of the state of New Jersey, did a deep analysis of our health care. Said everything was squared away. So that's my answer number 2 about the health care. Number 3, if you're going to ask questions the night of a meeting about bills list and rattle all of those numbers off and think that anybody is going to have a specific answer to you, I don't know what to say to you on that, other than I've sent to you many times before. If you want a detailed answer, reach out in advance. when an invitation is offered to you to come to my office and go over the data, because those are extensive questions, extensive numbers. That's not asking what the weather is going to be tomorrow. That's significant questions that you ask. I said, that's better to answer in person, and you don't come, that's on you. That's my answer to your question. Ms. Worland, what would you like to answer to?
So I just wanted to first confirm that since there was like personnel information provided, that I would not be speaking out of turn by sharing.
As long as you don't mention any of the positions and the names of the people,
Okay.
or we just speak like in generalities,
General.
like just like
Yeah,
I
so
have, like that would be fine.
Thank you. So I had come in to meet with Mr. Italiano and Ms. McLaughlin to just ask some of my questions about the budget. And one of the questions was about impact on instruction, because there is going to be, you know, as enrollment is declining, a change in staffing. And so they were able to present some of the current numbers of classroom sizes and show how the budget would change those while keeping everything very manageable, also in line with not just required caps for class sizes, but also what has been expected of this district, which is not just pushing against the cap, but making sure that we have good teaching instruction levels, that students can get the individualized attention that they all need and that they've all come to expect in the district. So from Julius's part, as his inquiry is, are we impacting classroom instruction? Based on the numbers I saw and the conversations we were able to have, it sounds like it's a balance to make sure that we're being mindful of the costs, but also recognizing the declining enrollment and seeing how we can maintain both all of the course offerings as well as class sizes to be appropriate for the schools.
One second, Joe. Let's go with Mr. Narvantes.
I just have a question on this. Montgomery Township School District is a part of the SHIF, the insurance.
State Health Insurance Fund,
right?
yes, that's correct.
So the whole purpose of that was to keep the cost at a lower level. So we have a group of school districts are in that program. So, but still our healthcare cost has gone up to 17%. But what is to say that, what is the benefit of being in that group and still have to face this kind of increase in health costs? That's the one question.
Well, that's pretty easy. You don't want to have a 32% healthcare cost as the alternative to be in the state health benefit plan. So our healthcare is half what our neighbors are that are in the state health plan.
But
I would say that's a major benefit.
But was there any guarantee of any percent that only we could go only to that level, and there is no such thing, or they can just this year 17, next year 24%?
So essentially, each year, our plan is shopped out.
Stop.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Mr. Todd, if it's okay with you, I asked Mr. Finn from Brown & Brown to come to the meeting tonight because I knew healthcare was a popular topic, and he could even elaborate on a higher level than I can, any of the healthcare questions. So Mr. Finn, not to put you on the spot, but I don't think this is your first time. I'm gonna pass to you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Finn. I'm a Senior Vice President with Brown & Brown. It's been our privilege to represent Montgomery School District for the past 20 years in what is always a very challenging environment, school district health insurance. There are 7 risk bearers that compete for school district business when it comes to health insurance in New Jersey. They are the State of New Jersey program known as the School Employee Health Benefits Program that acts as an insurer of last resort, and for that reason and others is going through what the treasurer of the state of New Jersey calls a death spiral. And she also called for the orderly wind down of the municipal side of the program and said the school side is not that far behind. So that program is the 32% medical, 59% prescription increase for about a third of the districts in New Jersey, about 200. That's one risk bearer. Another risk bearer is Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, which once upon a time was your insurance carrier. And they've passed along rate increases to over 60 school districts in excess of 24%. On their larger group book of business, school districts with more than 150 employees, the rate increases have ranged up to 45%. Ocean County Votech, that's public information. We also have Aetna as a risk bearer competing for business in New Jersey. I gave a 2-hour presentation at Flemington Raritan School District in February to explain why, based on their population health and the cost of healthcare in the community and many other factors, why their rate increase, the best we could do for them, was 35%. So State Health, 32 to 59, Horizon, 23 to 45, Aetna, for some districts, up to 35, and we're talking Aetna on a direct basis, not Aetna through the school's health insurance fund. We then have a collection of health insurance funds operated by a company called PERMA, one of which is the school's health insurance fund. The average medical increase, not counting prescription, the biggest ticket item, the medical increase in that fund this year was 14%. Your increase, because your medical claims are as good as your prescription claims are bad, your medical rate increase in the school's health insurance fund was 12%. So if we're giving out medals, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, while nobody likes these numbers, SCHIF gets platinum this year, and they have in most years, because they can do what the state of New Jersey plan cannot do. They can decline to admit school districts whose claims experience they do not like. And I hope I answered the question. Mr. Todd, I'll have a seat unless you invite me back up.
While you're up there, anybody else have any questions on healthcare?
Andrew, I just have one more question. I
Yeah,
know.
Healthcare or no?
No.
Okay, just if anybody has a question on healthcare while he's
I
there.
have questions for the
Yes, Dr.
healthcare. So what's the percentage, management fee I was asking actually earlier, what's the total amount we pay for commission management fee and other non-benefit related fee to you guys?
The commission in the school's health insurance fund is $40 per employee per month. It's not a fixed percentage, and it only goes up 2% a year. So while your rates are going up 12% in the school's health insurance fund, the compensation to us is only going up 2% next year. On the prescription, it's not a per employee per month fee, it's a flat percentage of 2%. So I don't have the dollar amount with me, but those are the factors that you could apply to the various slices of the budget.
Gotcha. And another question I do have is, I kind of like did a little bit research on our school district health benefit part increasing. Start school 2020 increases 2.6, 2021 1.8, 2022 3.75%, and 2023 I believe that's the year our school districts joined you guys. And that year is also the full day kindergarten. That's the referendum we passed. That's the 14.5%, and school year 2025 is 8%. 2025 school year is 9.8%, and this year we're increasing 17%. So what's the benefit we're promised to join you guys, and what's the actual results are?
Okay, I have to ask you to draw a distinction between Brown & Brown, which has been your broker for 20 years, which is an extension of the school district. Our fiduciary obligation is to you. We are not agents of any risk bearer, versus which risk bearer or which funding mechanism you've had over the past 20 years. And you've had a lot. You were with Horizon, and then you were with Oxford, which is no longer in the marketplace. Then you were with Aetna. Then you were in the state of New Jersey plan. Then you were with Horizon. Then you were with Aetna. Then you were in the state of New Jersey plan. And then you came out to self-insure for a few years, and at the time you were about to renew your self-insured program for a 4th year, we recommended joining the school's health insurance fund because what was going on with medical technology, the introduction of GLP-1s, which have exploded the cost of healthcare at almost every district, we made the recommendation to do so. And I have backup information that I can discuss right now that proves that had we remained self-insured going into the 23-24 school district year, we would have paid $4 million more than if you had done what you did do, which is follow our recommendation to go to SCHIF for medical and Benecard for prescription. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, but that's the story. Mr. Todd?
Any other questions on healthcare?
Last question is about the rebate. Last October at the training, you did talk about bringing the rebate back to the school district that can help with that.
Yes.
So what's the update for that?
So you're referring to the New Jersey School Boards Association workshop?
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about something there that was not quite returning the rebates, but rather on certain types of drugs, eliminating the rebate equation to bring down the cost to the district. Because right now, with Benecard, because they are your pharmacy benefit manager, insurer, and plan sponsor, they retain the rebates. And on the most highly utilized drug in your population, we are putting together a program which would require legal scrutiny, Mr. Italiano referred to it earlier, and which would probably require collective bargaining, or at least the blessing of your 3 bargaining units, that would deliver about $1 million turnaround in terms of covering those drugs via Benecard versus covering it or administering it in a different fashion. And I'll pull the cork out of the bottle, it's a GLP-1 direct program. And I'm not at liberty to give out the details here because there's certain steps that have to be gone through to honor the collective bargaining process, but we're working on it. And I know that's not a popular answer sometimes, but we are working on it.
Can I just jump in? So, board member, when Jim was in our March meeting touching on this specific program, and we had asked him to present to us, to the OFF, in May after the budget cycle, to explain to us what this program could look like and how that could benefit the district. So that is a conversation that we are still going to have in the next couple of months in OFF.
And we're prepared to do that.
Last question.
May I back up a second?
Yeah.
The reason it's not something being factored into the budget this year is you can't do what we're recommending you do just unilaterally. It does require, if not consultation with your bargaining unit, it might require collective bargaining, because no school district in New Jersey, and we would know, we represent 60% of them, has done this yet. It's called a GLP-1 direct program. No one has done this yet, but somebody has to be first. And we are talking to a couple of districts that we think are cut out to do this from a fiscal acumen standpoint and a governing body acumen standpoint.
So earlier when I talked about that 5.8 million gap, I request to see the purchase order. Is that something that you guys can provide to the board?
No, that we don't see the purchase orders between you and Benecard and you and the school's health insurance fund. No, we don't have that information, sorry. And even if I could provide it, which I can't, that would have to be channeled through your business office. That's the rules of the road in our business. And I think it's the rules of the road in your business as well. Any other questions, Mr. Todd?
As always, Mr. Fair, that is very much.
I'll stick around until you guys adopt your budget, and good luck with that.
Thank you. Do you want to go back to the staffing question?
Yes,
Mr. Nunez?
So I needed a calculator. About 2.5% of admin is being cut and about 2% of teaching and support staff.
Can you again say what the enrollment decline is about percentage-wise?
So like all of them.
And that's a guesstimate.
They're all going down.
Everything is in line, is what I'm trying to point out.
Yeah.
It doesn't always line up perfectly
No,
like that,
but-
this time it does.
Right, enrollment has to go down more significantly than staffing because, you know, it's almost like flying a plane. Even if there's 10 seats empty, you still have to pay for the gas and pay for the pilot and pay for all the overhead and everything, even though there's 10 empty seats and you didn't get the money for it. Meaning, if there's 5 kids missing from a class, you still are going to run the course in high school, for example.
I have a question, coming back to that 1.4 million and the reduction in the positions. I'm just curious that some districts do provide not the names, not salary, not, just provide which areas is being cut, like secretarial position or a student assistant program position or custodial position. They will give some information which amounts to that 1.4 million. So I don't know why Montgomery district cannot put that just overall picture for a board to see where we are coming with this 1.4 million reduction. so that we feel like it's not affecting the area. I know you guys would have done all the work, but it would be nice for us to see also where it actually comes together.
So two-part answer to that. That's a fair question. In the budget hearings that we had with you on March 11th, we gave you a flavor for what the positions are. We didn't give you exactly what they are. This is a small, tight-knit community. If we gave out the level of the departments, the positions, and things of that nature, we didn't want that information to get leaked out to our staff that has to work for the rest of the year. We didn't find that appropriate. However, when we go into executive session, the staff members did receive a rights notice. We want to go into a little bit more detail about that. We can. In the public forum, we cannot.
And I recall, we were just talking about it at the March 11 meeting, at least in our session, you showed the schools where potential cuts would be made, but not the precision. So at least we had an idea where, if it was MHS, UMS, but
We gave as much as we could to give you an idea. We looked at each program. There's more kids in the high school now than the elementary schools. We analyzed this data. We're putting a budget together for next year, putting the right pieces in the right places based on where our students are. Showed you a little bit. That kind of comes with a little bit. You have to trust us on where we need to put our people to run our school. So it really comes down to, we gave you what was standard, and it comes down to trust a little bit. But we could talk about it a little more in executive session, not in this forum.
That's just too much in the weeds for me. I don't want to know what the positions are that you're cutting.
This isn't New York City. We don't have teachers that are on the payroll that are just sitting in a room for 9 periods a day. Everybody is here, is working, and if we don't need somebody here, trust me, I want to be as efficient as possible. They're not going to be here. We've analyzed this inside and out, upside down. That said,
Any other questions from board
any
members?
other questions?
Question. So, I guess, glad to hear that now that some of the information is being shared, why was it so difficult to just share that number like 8 weeks ago? Like the 2%, 2.5%?
We shared that information, let's put it this way. I'm sorry?
Repeat the question. To the microphone.
Julius, I think they asked if you could repeat the question, speak in the microphone, then we'll answer you.
I guess part of understanding this budget, because it is, I'll go back to 82% is a material portion of the budget, this operating piece. Not having the full amount of detail, what is going into it, what's not going into it, how it's proportionally affecting our teaching staff versus administrative. That's what I needed to get comfortable with. That 2%, 2.5% had not been shared. And that's what I was looking, I asked my email were looking for 2 numbers, total admin and total educational. So if it marries what you shared, but that's the type of level of transparency, not down to the name, not down even to the department, just show us a total. And part of it is trusting you, but part of it is also sharing a limited amount of information to be able to say, yes, we've done enough due diligence to say that, yes, this is in line, it makes sense. We may not like it because we ideally like to keep every teacher here. We want to make sure we're properly staffed, but not having any information for 8 weeks is troubling.
Mr. Nunez?
But thank you for sharing that now.
Listen, I don't think you like the way that I delivered the information. I'll be honest, I shared it. I just don't think we agree. That's what it comes down to. You don't like my delivery of it. And I've heard that I deliver it different than the town does, and that's fine. And when my employment is up for renewal, like the next agenda, you can vote no to that as well. I delivered it as best I could. I'm sorry it's not to your satisfaction, but if it was that large of an issue, the majority of the board would have been all over me for that information, and they weren't. I gave it to you the best I could. You keep saying you wanted it a certain way. I'm sorry I couldn't give it to you the exact way you wanted. I gave it to you the best way I could, the way I've done for the last 2 decades, and I've never been taken to the level that you did. Like I said, there's a difference between governance and where you took it, in my opinion.
So noted.
Hold up, I want to make sure. Can you clarify, asking what our total administrative and educational staff is at a total district level is too much information? Because that's what it sounds like. Asking for 2 numbers is too much information for us to understand as a board, knowing it's 82% of the operating budget. Are you saying that's too Please, can you clarify? Is that too much
I
to
have no
ask?
further comments to your questions.
I'm
No,
sorry,
I'm arguing with you.
Superintendent
Thank you.
Block, can you address that, please?
As I said, I came prepared. I said there are 710 staff members, 40 are under the category of admin. We have 56 in transportation, and all the rest fall under teaching or support staff, which equals 614.
Any other questions from board members?
I don't think I get my questions 5.8 million gap answered. As we just heard, Brown cannot offer that purchase order, and that needs to go through our BA.
So if you come to the board office,
I
there are
cannot
hard
document
copies.
it. It's recorded and it's documented. You can email back to
Now,
me.
that information will not be emailed because we've had some issues with
No,
with
somebody will
information.
have to take time and go through every file and take a staple remover and sit and pull the purchase order off the
take it one layer further.
requisitions and sit with you, and they will.
Dr. Wang could come in,
So
she
that
could
means
sit.
you don't have an electronic tracking system to document such large database.
So here's what we're going to offer. As I said, the county superintendent reviewed our healthcare and our budget twice.
QSAC and auditor.
Past QSAC, past the auditor. If you would like, you could have a personal meeting with the district auditor to review as many healthcare bills as your heart desires. To answer your question about 5.8 million this and bills list that, you're going to have to accept you're not getting an answer to that question.
That's
If you'd
the
like to
resolution.
come to the office and sit with the auditor and go through the healthcare bills, I'll arrange it. Be my guest.
Any other questions from the board?
I just wanted to say something. Yeah, I do understand where Board Member Julius is saying that the process of getting information is also changed, I feel, this year compared to last year. Whenever a board member is asking something, it has to go through a certain channel, and sometimes we get the answer, sometimes we get said that's going too much into the weeds of the school operation. So that there ends the answer session. So I feel like if we could have the openness of board members asking questions without going through and without scrutinizing what is being asked, it could be easier to find the answers, I feel. I feel like the process has changed this year, which
Can I
is
answer
not
Right.
not all the time it's working.
Last comment, thank you.
I was just gonna say, and I'm not sure if it feels different, I think it's more that we've had in the past board members who were seeking information not through the right channels, so it feels different since we're trying to do things and making sure we are following as board members what's required of us, and there is a certain way we do have to approach, whether it's Marion Cabinet, how we go through our president. So there is a way to gather information that's done appropriately. So maybe that's why it's maybe feeling a little different because, like I said in the past, I think there have been members who used to just go to whoever they would like to get information, and that wasn't maybe always the most appropriate way to do so. And I could be wrong, but
I just wanted to say the process has never changed. New Jersey School Board does training with the board multiple times during the year. We are a board of committees, so there are committee chairs. So anything finance needs to go through the OFF chair, anything personnel should go through the HRC chair, and that protocol has never changed. We might not have always enforced it, but because it started maybe getting to be a lot of questions, we need to enforce it. And then any general questions need to go through Mr. Todd, who then would share them with me. So, but no process has changed. I want to go on record saying that. No process has changed from the beginning of time with the Montgomery Township School District operating as a board of committees. That's the way that boards operate with committees. And New Jersey School Boards, it clearly delineates that in every single training that they do for us over the years. Mr. Todd, Mr. Finn would like permission to speak again.
Okay.
All right. So it's Dr. Wang, correct? All right, Dr. Wang, relative to your question about actual expenditures versus budgeted expenditures, the $5 million number. While Brown & Brown is not Benecard, we're not Schiff, we're you, and we're not involved in the invoicing and the premium payment that's from the business office to the different risk bearers. I will certify here on whatever book you want me to certify that by the end of June of this fiscal year, Montgomery, without taking into account employee contributions, just the top line gross premium, will spend $23 million on medical, dental, and prescription. Next year, assuming roughly the same enrollment, I know you've had some cuts, they'll spend $27 million. You will spend $27 million. 27 divided by 23, I just checked because I was an English major, is 17%. So what may be influencing how you're looking at your bill list and all that is sometimes the risk bearers are delayed in invoicing based on how many enrollment changes are made. Sometimes they close for the holidays or what have you. And sometimes, depending on when certain bills come in, they don't make it onto the bills list if it's the day before a board meeting. There's no $5 million missing from what I can see. And I
Mr.
hope,
Finn, is it correct? If there was, those risk bearers would be reaching out to you to reach out to me to find out where their payments are. Isn't that correct?
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The school's health insurance fund has a 60-day termination policy if you don't pay your bills. Ditto Benecard, and they all charge interest if you're past 30 days. And my best recollection is you've never been beyond like 21 days.
I'd agree with that. Thank you.
All right.
And we open it for the
Okay, so now we can open the field.
Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public. Members of the public are allotted one opportunity to address the board regarding the 2026-2027 budget only, for up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. All comments must be directed to the board. Before you make your comment, please state your full name and address and enter both in the Chromebook provided. Being mindful of privacy rights regarding students, board employees, and board members, and to avoid any liability on the part of the speaker, the board discourages defamatory and discourteous remarks. The public comment portions of the meeting are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities for the public to share their thoughts with the board. The board may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command, usually starting at the school level. Responses may be provided at the end of this session. Any comments from the public on the budget, and the budget only? Please approach the mic, write your name and information in the Chromebook, please, and state your name.
Good evening. This is Raj Kultur. I'm a resident of Montgomery Township. If I have to spell it out, I can spell out my last name. Is that correct? Okay. I'm here to represent. So, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank for everyone to share this one and give us an opportunity. I'm a parent and a taxpayer of the Montgomery Town community. I'm here respectfully to ask the board to take a hard look at the trajectory of school taxes and the burden on Montgomery families. My goal is tonight is to be constructive, to partner on a path of the projects with educational quality and keeps our community affordable. So I'm also on behalf of a petition that we filed from the Montgomery residents, which is signed by more than 400 residents. I'd like to give an executive summary and also share this with the board members if possible, and also give the all the list of all the people, residents who signed the petition. I would like to make a disclaimer. I mean, this is in no way against the school or teachers, because I did see a lot of flight coming in from a lot of people saying as if this is against teachers. I think the school is great, the teachers are great. It's just we wanted to highlight the fact that as a resident, there's a burden of tax increase year over year, especially for people who actually have fixed income, then that's much more. We want to make sure that feeling is that is part of the table making the decision, not just for only one dimension, but that can be considered as a resident's pain as well. So that's the voice that I want to bring. Nothing against teacher or nothing against anyone in general from the school district. Couple of things that we looked at. I think I can hand over the executive summary to members, and also there's a petition and signatories. But few things where we looked at the data across the board. We looked at some of the schools, compared which are like similar ranking. One of them, which we can benchmark in the petition, is from Plainsboro Westminster School District. Some of the things that were stand out. I understand the health insurance costs have gone up. We are looking at non-teaching staff where per pupil, per student ratio, and if you were to maintain the same ratio, how much more we have. I don't know if we have to have full-time versus having part-time consulting, whatever that is, but on the non-teaching staff, we could potentially see about 10.74 million reduction in other support services and instructional aid positions. So that's one of the things that we looked at an average about 10.7 million. Special education optimization is about 2 million. Facilities, maintenance and energy is about 1.1 million. Again, I'm just trying to give us some
time.
All right. Thank you so much.
Any other comments from the public on the budget? Can I hand it?
Good evening, Vince Barrett, 63 Auburn Lane. Also serve as the deputy mayor from Montgomery Township. Now, number one, I really want to appreciate everything that everyone here does. Like the officials, very tough. I know for a fact that budgets are always a lot of fun. Number one, just want to make sure that we do go through this budget. Protect our teachers, protect our kids, continue funding special education. Big important things. Two, want to applaud the initiative around figuring out our healthcare costs. That was one of the things I had on my list. What are we going to do about that? I'm glad to hear some innovation here. So I'm also quite keen to see if that's something that we can look at from a municipal side. Third, I think there's been a couple of some emails and discussions, but I think there's maybe not a huge material, but I think there's opportunities for the municipality and the school board to partner on some shared services. I think sometimes we have some silo, processes, etc. And I think there's a huge opportunity. So I welcome any opportunity for the township to partner with the school board to see if there's an opportunity for us to share costs. It could help, close some budget gaps, minimize, some tax increases, etc. But again, number one, I appreciate the discussions, the questions, the hard questions, which I think are important. And again, really appreciate what everyone does here for our residents and for our kids. Thanks.
Sir, if you don't mind emailing me sometime, if you want to talk about the shared services, I'm welcome to.
Karen Anderson, Montgomery Township. I just had a comment about the presentation and about, and I say this respectfully, about the tone and the bias or the reactions that the BA has to questions. Could I request that going forward, you not pose a statement whether something's a good question, a bad question, or a silly question, because the question is what it is. Let the listener interpret what their opinion is, and I just hear that as a continued, not just today, but I hear that there's always a slant added to it, and I hope we could just present unbiased information and not subject your opinion onto what's being said. Thank you.
I just want to be brief, and I want to just provide some numbers because we've heard a lot of general statements about estimates, about what we should expect, but I want to actually present some of the numbers that come from the board-approved documents. So I took a harder look at 4 years, month by month, of bill list report that's produced by this administration and presented for approval by the board. In those reports, there are specific lines with the specific account numbers that relate to healthcare. So they represent, or they're supposed to represent, how much is actually paid in that particular month for healthcare costs. So in 2022-23 year, we budgeted just for healthcare 15.3 million. But the amount, the total amount of all payments that was approved by the board, included in bills list, is only 7.3 million. So there is a discrepancy of 7 million, almost $8 million that has not been at least approved by the board. Same thing happened in 2023-24. The difference, the discrepancy is 5.6 million. And in 2025 to 2026 year, the discrepancy is 8.8 million. So my question is, if the bills list shows the payments remitted toward healthcare, how come there is such discrepancy between those bills that were actually paid and whatever amount is included in the budget?
Good evening. My name is PJ Singh. I live in Darwin. And to start with, I want to tell you that all of my 3 children went through Montgomery school system, and I couldn't be proud of what the school had to offer. And I really value the quality of education that our children get in this school. Today I'm going to talk about concern that we have regarding salary and benefits. I think one of the board members spoke about it, but this is independent of what he said. I think the overall the salary and benefit, as everybody knows, is over 82%. And I think if you look at New Jersey's efficiency threshold, currently it's 75% to consider that you are, you're in financial sustainable position. So that's a really quite important point, not 80%, not 83%, at least based on what I've studied. I think the other thing I do want to mention is to achieve this efficiency of 75%, board had to cut about 8.25 million. And that cut doesn't have to happen only this year. You could start with this year and continue forward to work towards what potentially could be done to come to a good place. And I think, lastly, when I look at the impact of this budget, we are looking at about potential saving. Well, I'll skip that part in the interest of time. Let me go to that. So I just want to talk about a couple of things in terms of what are the things to consider for board members. Firstly, I think we need to review non-instruction, other sports services headcount. And I think if you look at it, the Montgomery headcount is significantly more than West Windsor Plains Sports School. I think one option that schools should consider is to go for these other sports services selectively from full-time to part-time. It will, reduce the base salary.
Sir, that's time. Thank
Okay,
you.
I'll wrap up. I
No,
think
that's it. That's time. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, I want.
Sir, please, that's it. Everybody gets the same 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
My name is Bala Naik, and I live in Balmira. I've been resident of this town for about close to 20 years. Right? My kids graduated from school. School is like a wonderful place to raise the kids here, and everything that is offered is something that not many schools offer. Right? I appreciate what is being done. But tonight, I just want to speak on behalf of the residents. I know that we're talking about the budget increase and everything, the cost going up. The biggest challenge right now, I think probably you guys also live in the same town, you also have seen the inflationary pressure that everybody experiences, right? The town is overall like a rich town, let's put it that way. The income is also high, but there is about 50% of the town that lives on a fixed income. And these are the people that have been living here for 50, 60 years. They have raised their children, grandchildren, and whatnot. Right? They have been living here. And with this tax burden, I think, in my view, we are going to take them out. They can't afford it. Right? It's not so much about the numbers, and what we need to also look at is basically the fiscal responsibility. Right? If you have a fixed income, you're spending certain amount of money on certain things, what are you going to do? You're going to start cutting down on some of the expenses. And if those people are already struggling to maintain their basic necessities, putting the food on the table, paying the electric bill, paying the gas bill, water bill, whatever that everything has to happen. If they have to take this burden, guess what's going to happen? Either they'll have to start eating low quality food, they have to start skipping healthcare necessities, right? Or they'll have to move out of the town. Right? Keep that in mind. I understand we want to save some jobs, but at the same time think about it, the impact of what we are trying to save versus what we are going to impact. When you vote for this budget today, I want you to seriously think about it and make sure that you don't price them. Because those are the long-term residents of this town. Respect them, make sure that you keep them in mind when you vote for this. I'm not asking you to cut it, find ways to manage this budget properly, like everyone else. Right? And I hope I made my point, and I want you to you being the elected officials that we represent, you represent us. Right? If you don't take care of us, who will? Okay? I want you to keep that in mind, and then you vote for this budget. And I want you to go back to the whiteboard if it is necessary. Go figure it out, and manage it in a way that it is sustainable. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Good evening. My name is Catherine Gravel, Belmead. I'm reading this statement on behalf of my friend, Jessica Kogan, a Montgomery Township homeowner and the mother of 2 Montgomery students with active IEPs. She could not be here in person, and her statement follows. Mr. President, members of the board, you have before you a petition asking you to find $14.6 million in cost containment before adopting the 2026-2027 budget. I want to be precise about where that money was supposed to come from. By the petition's own numbers, $12.7 million, 87% of the proposed savings comes out of services for children with disabilities. $2 million from returning 30 out-of-district placements. $10.7 million from cutting 158 positions in other support services and instructional aides. That is not a cost containment plan. That is a layoff plan aimed at the most legally protected student in this district, and I'm asking you to reject it. I want to speak directly to the math, because the math does not work. Out-of-district placements are not a procurement category. Each one is federally protected IEP agreed to by a team that includes the parents. Under NJAC 6A:14. After this district determined it could not deliver a free and appropriate public education in the least restricted environment, under IDEA's stay put protections, you cannot return those students by board vote. You can return them only with parental consent or by losing a due process hearing. A single Burlington-style unilateral private placement reimbursement runs $80 to $150,000 per student per year retroactive, plus attorney's fees. 30 contested placements does not save $2 million. It generates a litigation budget that will exceed it. The proposed cut of 158 aides and support service staff makes the arithmetic worse. Under IDEA maintenance of effort, this district is required to sustain a special education spending at or above the prior year's level. A $12.7 million reduction risks a federal MOE finding that must be repaid out of local dollars. It also collapses semi-Medicaid reimbursement, which depends on the very paraprofessionals and related service providers the petition wants to eliminate. The savings are gross, the cost is net, and the net is negative. The benchmark itself is unsound. A raw FTE comparison to West Windsor Plainsboro without controlling for classification rate, autism prevalence, behavior plans, and one-to-one mandates is not an analysis. It's a press release. I would ask the board to consider one more thing. I have 10 seconds left, and I'm not going to have time to read it, but I think you know where I'm going. Adopt the budget as presented, to publicly reject any amendment targeting special education investments or support services. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the 2026-2027 budget. It's been properly moved and seconded to close the hearing on the 26-27 budget. Any questions on the motion?
All in favor?
Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same right. Abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, so now that the public hearing is closed, we need a motion and a second to vote on the budget resolution. So do I have a motion and a second?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2026-2027 budget. Been properly moved and seconded to approve and adopt the 2026-2027 budget. Any questions on the motion? Any discussion?
I would just like to make a brief statement here. I would just like to make a brief statement. I hear people, everyone is struggling with expenses. It's not, the grocery store bills are incredible, the gas prices are incredible. Everyone is feeling it. Everyone sitting at this table is either a direct taxpayer in this town who's voting on this budget or pays their taxes through rent. And so we are invested in this budget because we care about schools and because we are also taxpayers. But a budget is a statement of priorities. And I support this budget because it's a compromise between the resources we need for our students, for our schools, and between taxpayers. I'm concerned looking at this budget based on decisions that were made in prior years. We made this budget very lean, and I am concerned about the facilities projects that we are putting off that may end up costing us more money in the future. But for the past 2 years, I stood on the other side of that podium and pointed out that we were hurting the district by not raising the maximum amount we could. We are not raising the maximum amount we could in this budget. We could have asked for more, but we did not. We had the bank cap available to us, and we are doing a compromise. Every time a position is lost in a school, yes, we may have declining enrollment, but there's economies of scale. Ms. McLaughlin said it. If you have 5 kids leaving 5th grade and 5 kids leaving 6th grade, that doesn't change the economics of how many classes you have to offer. So as we continue to cut positions, class sizes grow. I was a teacher myself, and we all know when you teach that the more kids, when you get to a certain number, the quality of your instruction suffers, and we do not want to have that to happen in this town. So it sounds easy from the outside to cut and to find money. It's not so easy on the inside. So I support this budget, and I hope the people in town will understand that we are balancing between student needs, that's what we're here for the children, and this budget does its best to work with children. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
First year on board, I can say I completely agree with Francine. It's a balancing act, and I think that's where I try to wear both hats to just make sure that, hey, the administration's getting pushed, and I completely got to say they are being pushed. At the same time, our first and most important priority is the children, and protecting the schools, protecting the class size, and making sure that that's what people came to Montgomery for. And the effort's there, right? I think the administration's done a great job as far as bridging and explaining what are our major cost drivers in the healthcare area, what we're putting off, and what we'd like to get to in the future as far as facilities projects. And if there is money in the budget, it's something we want to make sure we continue to keep an eye on that list. The most important thing is protecting the class size. We cannot let that get out of control. And there are some unavoidable cost increases, cost drivers, but they're explainable. And I think one thing that always comes up is, hey, enrollment. Yes, enrollment is down 2%, but what I saw from Mary and Andrew today is staffing is flexing to match that. We don't want to flex too much. You can only cut so much without actually impacting the student experience, and that we cannot let that happen. So I fully support this budget. I know it took a little bit to get there. You guys got me across the finishing line. I appreciate the work though, and it really is appreciated from saying that the effort is there, so thank you.
And thank you to Mr. Taliano and Superintendent McLaughlin for meeting with us as many times as necessary and conducting numerous meetings to make sure that we get thoroughly go through everything.
Any other questions, comments from the board? I will say, listen, the budget season is always a tough season. Thank you to Mr. Taliano for his countless hours in getting us across the finish line, or getting us to the finish line. Mary and her staff and board members, you asked some tough, thoughtful questions of Mr. Taliano, and hopefully he was able to answer everything, and hopefully this comes out how we want it to come out. Any other questions, comments?
I want to say how we come to today is really tough. Like many of the board members try to ask questions about head count. The conversations happen right now tonight. Shouldn't be in this situation. There are things could be discussed before 6 weeks ago, and that's about transparency and accountability. And also we've seen the declining enrollment and family decisions. It took a year for this board, entire year discussion to receive the basic disenrollment data. Now we learned, regardless of declining enrollment, we always have about average 200 disenrolled each year. The first primary reason is they moved to other public schools in other states. Second reason is they moved to private schools. That tells us families here have choices. They're balancing cost of living and also learning opportunities. Third, I want to talk about access to the academic opportunities. As our superintendent presented slides deck 14, we have a lot of STEM highlights. but it's a little bit hard for me to reconcile. We have so many high achievements in those awards areas, yet we took down some of the learning opportunities, yet other school districts offer free at cost. Fourth is how we leadership handle and respond to feedback is a little bit concerning. Last year, when several, about 20 distinguished university faculty reached to a board to share their expectation, the school leadership contact administrators at their institution and later claim that universities...
Dr. Wang, I want to redirect you. This is a budget discussion.
Budget.
Thank you.
Come back to again. That's about concern, is how they reach to that. It's one unwillingness to engage in meaningful discussion with the community. And also student outcome and database. That's part of the evaluation of the budget. Because we want to protect class size, we evaluate our student achievement. Families also raised the concerns about foundational skills. Look at our state assessment results, shows the persistent gaps. Grade 3 reading, 42 to 48% student.
Dr. Wang, again, this is a motion on the budget.
Budget, we will
On
evaluate
the
the
budget.
budget.
On the budget, thank you.
Yeah. So the transparency accountability requires sharing information. And we heard just from the board. Multiple meetings, multiple emails, no response. Not yet until today. Asking 2 numbers is too much. We're asking to share information, not hide it.
Dr. Wang, I need to caution you. You are doing an evaluation of the administration, and that is prohibited.
Oh, then talk about the budget.
Thank you.
So, can I close my rationale and expressing my appreciation, or that not allowed?
As long as it's about the budget, absolutely.
I'll save that.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt the budget. Oh, it's already on, I'm sorry. Yep. No more questions on the budget? Roll call, please, Mr. Taliano.
Thank you. Dr. Wang?
Roll call, right?
This is for the budget only. This is a yes or no for the budget.
Okay. Abstain. My rationale is I cannot say yes to every single line of 10 pages budget, but I cannot say yes because some of my questions are not answered. The questions we discussed here just...
Noted. Thank you. Ms. Pfeffer?
Yes.
Spina?
Yes.
Rickman Herman?
Yes.
Ms. Worling?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Thank you. That's 5. Budget passes. Mr. Nunez?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Nargon?
Abstain.
Noted. Thank you. Mr. Todd?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Budget's adopted. 7-2 vote. Thank you. We can move on with our agenda.
All right, we'll now move on to superintendent's reports presentation.
Good evening, everyone. For the first time in high school history, the girls lacrosse team won the conference championship. Congratulations to them. Montgomery High School partnered with the Montgomery Township Police Department and the Montgomery Township Health Department and hosted Think Fast Interactive, an engaging game show style assembly designed to empower students with essential facts about the dangers of vaping and substance abuse. UMS celebrated its week of inclusion with themed dress days and daily announcements designed to build awareness of diverse populations. The week concluded with the first ever silent disco hosted by the Student Council and the Unified Club. This inclusive, sensory-friendly event provided all students with an opportunity to engage socially and enjoy music in a supportive environment. UMS highlighted the importance of service learning for the 8th graders. The service learning projects included visiting the Cubs at OHES for Day of Play, helping the Bluebirds at Village with classroom lessons, making dog toys for Save, cleaning up the UMS courtyard, and much, much more. While 8th graders completed these projects, the 7th graders spent time with the Hope Squad, students working on community building activities. Students participated in a special presentation by a historian who shared insights on the Declaration of Independence. Her presentation highlighted how the document was shared across the Early Nation, the individuals behind its creation, and its lasting impact on the ideals of equality and liberty. This event provided a meaningful connection to the nation's upcoming 250th anniversary. Montgomery Lower Middle School continues to showcase the incredible talents and spirit of its students and community. It proudly presented its spring musical, Willy Wonka Jr., featuring 2 outstanding ensembles. Both groups delivered exceptional performances, highlighted not only their talent, but also their dedication, teamwork, and hard work. The production was a true community effort, bringing together actors, stage crew, set and costume designers, and supportive audience members for a joyful and memorable experience. Looking ahead, LMS is excited to welcome its rising 5th grade students on May 4th for a special visit designed to help them become familiar with their new school. That same evening, school administration will host the informational session for parents, Strengthening the Home, school partnership as families prepare for the transition. To help celebrate the month of May, the middle school PTO will host its annual Spring Fling Dance on May 8th, providing another opportunity for students to connect, celebrate, and build community. In support of the Civic Unit, all 4th grade classes travel to the New Jersey State House to learn about local government and the roles of elected officials. In addition, our very own Mayor of Montgomery, Ms. Nina Singh, will be visiting the 4th grade team tomorrow, Wednesday, for an assembly to talk about her role as mayor of the town. The Montgomery Shade Tree Committee volunteers help 3rd graders celebrate Arbor Day on April 24th with the assemblies that focus on how important trees are to the environment. Students learn that trees help clean out the air and water, provide habitats for wildlife, and support the health and well-being. Every student went home with a cypress tree sapling to plant and care for at home. Somerset County Constitutional Officers sponsored a poster contest for 4th graders in honor of the County Government Month. Students were encouraged to use their knowledge of history, current events, or personal experience to show what is great about Somerset County. There were only 3 winners, and all 3 were Village Elementary students. First place winner received a gift card and will have a class party. Second place winner will receive a gift card, and the 3rd place will have, honorable mention, will have the poster on display at the County Administration Office. They will receive their awards at the Commissioners' meeting in Somerville. 4 Village Elementary 4th grade choral students have been selected to be members of the 33rd Annual New Jersey Elementary All-State Choir that will perform in Flemington this weekend. Membership in the All-State Choir is a very distinct honor. The village choral director has supported students throughout tryouts and the rehearsals. The entire village community is proud of these vocalists and are excited about their upcoming performance. April has been packed at Orchard Hill with all kinds of exciting activities for the Cubs. Last Friday, our high school peer leaders ran their annual career fair day for the 1st and 2nd graders. Students learned about various careers and their school counselors prior to the event, and then got to visit with the high school seniors who portrayed various careers like being a chef, a nurse, a musician, even an archaeologist. Orchard also celebrated Autism Acceptance the week of April 20th to 24th with a school-wide bubble blowing event and a special video Q&A with members of the autism teaching team where students could submit questions to learn more about students and more about autism. That concludes the superintendent report. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent McLaughlin. We'll now move to representative reports. MTEA up first.
Good evening. My name is Chris Resch. I am the first vice president of the MTEA. Mike sends his regards for not being able to attend tonight. He recently welcomed a new baby into his family and is quickly learning about the concept of a sleep schedule. It's more of a suggestion than a reality at this point. So within the MTEA, we have several programs currently underway, with more launching soon. One ongoing initiative is our Spiritware program. Each building has a donation bin located near the main office, so if you have any Montgomery Spiritware that no longer fits, or items that your children may have left behind after heading to college, we encourage you to consider donating. It's a great way we can give back to our community. On May 9th, our Music from the Heart production of All Shook Up will take place with 2 performances scheduled, one in the morning and one in the evening. We hope you'll all come out to support our staff and enjoy what promises to be a really fantastic show. Last week, we held our Earth Day Read Aloud, which had a great turnout. Families who attended received books and birdhouse kits. With improving weather, we hope those kits will be put to good use. We also have 3 more Read Aloud events planned before the end of the school year. Regarding tonight's budget vote, we appreciate the board's discernment and commitment of significant resources to help maintain Montgomery's high level of academic excellence. As we move forward, it will be important to continue prioritizing what matters most for our students and their success. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any board member or delegate representative reports tonight?
I don't have a report, but I do have something I'd like to. So the 26th County SBA meeting topic survey, it's called 2627 County SBA Meeting Topic Survey. It was an email from Karen Callahan. It was sent on April 24th. It's due by May 15th. This is our opportunity as a board to provide any suggestions for topics that will be afforded airtime in future meetings of the county. So, which all members are encouraged to attend if their schedule allows. That being the case, there is one that is upcoming. It is the biannual Delegates Assembly. This meeting is going to be held on May 16th. I will be attending in person as the district's appointed voting member. 6 resolutions are on the agenda on the following topics: ranked choice voting, immigration, pilot and tax exemptions, state school funding formulas, instructional materials, New Jersey tech school governance. You can find detailed descriptions of those 6 resolutions, as well as much more information about the Delegates Assembly under the events and training link through your NJSBA portal. So if anyone needs help getting onto their NJSBA portal, please email me. I can help you with that as your liaison. I can try to figure that out with you. But I do encourage all of our board members to read through the agenda. It's extensive, and the links. And please reach out to me if you have any thoughts or questions that you would like to share before this meeting, since I am your voting member. Thank you.
Any other reports?
I think I just want to remind, I think next Monday, May 4th, Somerset County also have a meeting to celebrate the year of the milestone. If members are available, please consider sign up.
All right, we'll move to board committee reports. Assessment, Curriculum, and Instruction Committee, Board Member Harris.
Thank you. So we met as a committee, was it a while ago now, April 10th? And during our meeting, we discussed the Entry Culture Second Edition Upper Middle School French Levels Part 1, Grade 7, and Part 2, Grade 8 textbook for the 2026-2027 school year. We also had a discussion, a presentation from Mr. Hardy about a book called The Amazing Generation. It's your guide to fun and freedom in the screen-filled world, grade 7 and 8 summer reading. This summer in UMS, they are taking a new approach, a one book, one school. This means the entire school community, students and staff members will read the same book. This is a graphic informational text version of middle schoolers that aligns with John Hyatt's Anxious Generation. This book aligns with upper middle school CARE-D's, SEL, social emotional learning goals, and prepares them for independence as they go through high school and post-graduation. Mr. Hardy and the LA supervisor will guide ELA teachers on a project based on the book, and Mr. Hardy and the SAC will guide staff on how to use the content from the book throughout our school year programming. Family engagement through podcasts, newsletters, and digital wellness nights. This does not replace current summer reading for incoming 7th and 8th grade students, but it will be an additional requirement. Also, online curriculum resources. We had a lengthy discussion with Fiona Berland and Jeffrey Brooks. When we select a new textbook for a course, you must also see a request for a class set of hard copy textbooks, followed by the digital book or digital bundle. Given the current concerns about screen time and effective learning strategies, we discussed the continued practice of purchasing e-books, digital bundles. Textbook publishers do not provide the option to access a wide variety of additional student and teacher tools outside of the digital textbook purchasing model. Additionally, digital textbooks should not be seen as the same thing as an ebook. A digital textbook bundle will include teacher resources to increase students' engagement, to scaffold instruction to meet specific learning needs, background information on the lesson, and other tools to assist in effective and efficient learning. Additionally, they often include interactive features within the student text, assessment checkpoints, and options to change reading levels or even to translate text. The only way to get the bundle is to purchase both digital and paper books at the same time. And last, we had a discussion about technology in the classroom. This will be a continued discussion, but for today, COVID was a blessing and a curse. We received state grant money, and then we had to change our perspective toward in-classroom learning. Our approach is a balanced approach. Technology was once used as a tool, and then it became embedded in our daily use. We can't ever go anti-tech. It's about pro-balance. Elementary use. These grades are not a one-to-one take-home. Students are allocated a device in the classroom. This doesn't mean it's used on a daily basis. In grade 1 and higher, technology is used for benchmarking STAR, Freckle, etc. It is not used all day. We have filtration monitoring software, which is a default to filter out social media, YouTube, uncharacterized software. YouTube is blocked, grade 4 and below. YouTube Shorts is blocked for shorts and other grades. We can embed a video within Google for the teacher's aspect of teaching without getting full access to YouTube. We start our middle schooler one-to-one take-home Chromebook program in 5th grade because of the alignment of the grades of the lower middle school, and we find it academically beneficial for the ed tech resources such as software and digital textbooks. It is also initially more expensive to buy Chromebook carts and devices for every instructional space than a one-to-one device model. And Jeffrey Brooks also discussed just tips that parents, should know or could try to do at home, such as finding a docking station downstairs, maybe for a child's Chromebook versus allowing the child continuous access in their bedrooms and things like that. So we had a really great, robust discussion about technology use and the benefits and also how we're monitoring it. So thank you.
Any questions for Board Member Harris?
Do you want to add anything?
No, you got it all covered.
I have a comment on the notes. So I think I disagree with the idea that we can never move into an anti-tech direction. I think the context is important. If a clear majority of our parents, especially those with young children, are asking us to scale back technology, we have a responsibility to listen and respond. This is not about rejecting innovation. It's about being developmentally appropriate. For our youngest learners, plenty evidence points in the same direction. Children learn best through hands-on experience, human interactions, not screens. Other high-performing education systems have already acted on this. Countries like in Europe limit or delay technology use in early grades, prioritizing foundational skills first. Their approach shows that setting boundaries on technology is not anti-technology. It's smart sequencing. So balance sounds reasonable, but it also can become a default justification for maintaining the status quo. If current practice is out of alignment with parents' expectations and child development needs, then recalibration, even significantly, is not extreme. It's responsible governance. So we're not banning technology forever. We're simply saying in early childhood, let's see more. Let's build a strong foundation first, introduce technology later, then it truly adds value. So I know our administrator is working on this topic and trying to get some guidelines, and I think later in the policy we'll hear about, we're trying to work on some of the policy on the technology and AI use, right? So that's my comment.
May I respond to Board Member Wang? I just wanted to say that I completely understand where you're coming from, and I don't I wouldn't want you to misinterpret the comments that were made about we can't go anti-tech. It's not a suggestion that this is not a continuing conversation. It's not a suggestion that there might need to be a reevaluation of the place of technology. I think the comment and the way it's presented in the notes was coming from a place of technology is a very real part of our world. We need to be responsible in how we include it in our instructional spaces for our students, when we include it in our instructional spaces, and recognize that getting rid of it entirely is just not really a very feasible option if we want to prepare our students for a world in which this is the future, whether we, as people who did everything on paper and pencil, like it or not.
So that's what I said, context is important.
Yes, and I just
Great
wanted to make
point.
sure you had not misinterpreted the notes to suggest that the school says, nope, everyone must have this, and this is the way we have to do it. That it is definitely, as Board Member Harris mentioned, a continuing conversation, and part of that conversation is actually the book that Mr. Accardi presented, is talking about that influence of technology and where students, especially as they get older, can learn to independently find that balance.
I'm challenging able to read it. I'm going to read it with Martin coming, so I was ready this summer. So. Okay.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none, moving to Operations, Facilities, and Finance Committee. Board Member Franco.
OFF met April 14. We discussed two things in that meeting. The budget, which passed tonight, and also discussed the facility use policy. So this policy was last updated 7 years ago for both the policy side and the regulation. So to initiate the process of updating this policy, it was suggested that the OFF committee draft specific revisions or recommendations to be presented to the policy committee for formal review and board approval. As part of the preparation, Mr. Italiano will lead his team in researching local school districts to gather comparative data across all facility categories. The goal is to have an updated policy approved and hopefully final before the start of the upcoming school year. So a significant portion of the discussion focused on the current fee structure and how outside vendors are being charged. So the director of facilities who attended our meeting pointed out that 65% of booked hours currently fall under community-based organizations, resulting in no revenue for the district. So additionally, the existing fee structure of a per student charge is inconsistent with actual facility usage, as a group meeting 5 times pays the same as a group meeting 40 times. So to address this, Mr. Italiano recommended transitioning to a space rental model based on time increments rather than seasonal or annual fees. So these are still being researched and will be further discussed, but we've started that conversation at our last meeting, and hopefully we'll have something for policy also in the next couple of months. So two things that were left for next meeting that we were not able to discuss was food service update and the energy efficiency audit that I know Ms. Northern had, forwarded materials from the meeting that you attended. So that is still going to be discussed in our main meeting. Just wanted you to know that we did not forget. I'm complete. Thank you.
Any questions for OFF?
Can I just make a small comment on that? I think I'm very glad that the facility use, we are reevaluating the whole, the rate system and everything. But that kind of, I'm very happy about that because I do get a lot of inquiries about renting the facility here in Montgomery School Districts, and it's a little difficult system. I think they feel it just goes within like 3 minutes. So I feel like there is a revenue stream there also. Not only it helps the community rent our facilities, again it brings in some revenue to the district. So it is a double win for us. I feel I'm very happy about that. Thank you so much.
Any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, moving on to Policy and Communications Committee, VP Spino.
Hi, Policy and Communications Committee met on April 13th. We discussed the policy 3124 and 4124. on employment contract and teaching staff members and support staff. Both of these policies, which relate to our contracts, have been updated to reflect the changes since the 25 through 28 MTEA collective bargaining agreement was signed. Additional discussion was on a policy on AI and how Strauss Esme has begun to develop a policy, and it is currently under review by both the tech department and the curriculum and instruction department. Once it has been fully vetted by the staff at Montgomery Township Public Schools, it will be brought forward to the PCC committee for review and then move on to the full board for eventual reading and vote. There was an additional discussion to be had, but we did decide to put that off until the full committee could meet in its entirety. We would like to develop norms for use by all Board of Ed committee policies, or a policy by all committees. The policy committee started to work on that development, and we will revisit that at a time when the full policy committee is present. Any questions?
All right, hearing and seeing none. Human Resource Committee did meet on April 13th. However, all matters involve personnel, and those matters are confidential. The board hereby acknowledges all correspondence to the board. At this time, I entertain a motion to convene an executive session.
So moved. Second.
They're properly moved and seconded to convene an executive session. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same right. Abstentions? We're now in executive session. At this time, I enter a motion to reconvene in open session.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to reconvene in open session. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please. Mr. Taliano?
Okay, Dr. Wang?
Here.
Pfeffer?
Yes.
Smita?
Here.
Franco Herman?
Here.
Worland?
Here.
Harris?
Here.
Mr. Nunez? Here. Ms. Norton?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes.
Thank you.
At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the March 2026 executive session minutes and the March 24, 2026 business meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same right. Abstentions? Motion carried. Action agenda items, public comment. The Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public. Members of the public are allotted one opportunity to address the board regarding action agenda items only for up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. All comments must be directed to the board. Before you make your comment, please state your full name and address and enter both in the Chromebook provided. Being mindful of privacy rights regarding students, board employees, and board members, and to avoid any liability on the part of the speaker, the board discourages defamatory and discourteous remarks. The public comment portions of the meeting are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities for the public to share their thoughts with the board. The board may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command, usually starting at the school level. Responses may be provided at the end of this session. Please state, make sure you state what agenda item number that you're referring to in your comments.
This is agenda? No, I will come back.
This is the action agenda items only. Okay. Any public comments for action agenda items? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. This time I entertain a motion to adopt action agenda items 1.1 through 4.2. Been properly moved and seconded to adopt action agenda items 1.1 through 4.2. Roll call, please. Oh, yeah, any discussions or questions on the action agenda items?
I have a question for 1.3, the policy one. This is the second reading, I understand, and the policy nepotism. And the policy committee and Chair Maria recommended to take the optional section, which is the per diem substitute and student employee for relatives of a board member, and all the superintendent shall be excluded from the provision of this policy. That's the optional one. And Maria, could you elaborate the rationale of supporting this optional section to the whole board?
Yeah, it has to do with the fact that if we have like substitutes in district or lifeguards that are students that need to, be as part of our payroll because they would get paid as such, that we wouldn't want to prohibit people from working for our district on a per diem or hourly basis just because of this particular policy. So we don't want to limit the ability for people in town to be substitutes or lifeguards or anything like that.
Okay, thank you for explanation, but I just want to point it out, those are specifically to relatives of a board member or the superintendent. So that means if they're principals and they're not within this optional thing. That's what I'm hearing. So we don't want a nepotism, but we want a little bit.
No, there wouldn't be any nepotism. I believe that there's plenty of people who have substitutes, like have done day substitution in the past, or again, have been a lifeguard at our pool. That's not nepotism. That doesn't mean that they were hired because they were somebody's friend or somebody's relative and they were not qualified. That would be what nepotism is.
But the relatives of a board member or the superintendent shall be excluded from this policy. Thank you.
Shall be excluded. No,
Yeah.
should not be.
You decided to take it, that means they can be hired
Yes. As subs or
as the student employee. But again, those as board members or superintendent, not the principals, not the staff. Okay, thanks for the discussion.
I don't understand why you're saying that principals and staff members.
Oh, that's the optional section, I'm just reading it.
Right, but
Dean,
you
substitute,
added
and
something to it.
student employees who are relatives of a board member or superintendent
Yep.
shall be excluded from the provision of this policy.
Okay, so, and then you added to it that principals and staff
And
are
other
excluded.
staffs.
But that's not.
That's not in the section.
Correct.
Optional section.
Yeah, you're just adding that information in, that is not part of this policy.
Oh, thanks for your rationale. I have also a comment on 3.7C, auditor. I think in January, when the auditor came to do the presentation, I asked the auditor, like, what did they do for those schedules in the auditor report? And the auditor's response is none. So that does not align with my experience and professionalism when I work with any federal auditor. And my rationale for this, I will vote no on that one. I don't have more comments. I think we can, if other board members don't have questions, I'm ready to vote.
I have a question.
Board Member Nargan.
It was like,
I'm just looking at 2.3, students being approved for our district. This is for next school year, starting June 22nd, 2026 to June 11, 2027. So I'm just wondering, there's only one student being approved for the entire next year?
at this point in time.
Yeah, that's the contract we have, so far.
Oh, okay, so we have, because I'm sure the list is bigger.
This is, the list is gonna grow, this is what we have a big,
Yeah.
yeah, we have this at the moment in time, the list will grow.
And I have one question on 3.6. 3.6, you're approving tuition rates for for our school district, right?
Yes.
But this is not the rates if a staff member is enrolling their children, right? That's 50% of this rate.
Right, this is, well, yeah, but everything has to be based, everything has to be based off of the, you have to establish these rates to do anything else off.
But so we don't have to approve that 50% rate?
Because that's contractual,
That's
that's
under,
different.
that's under CBA.
But you have to approve the standard rate first
Okay.
to then honor any special arrangements that are in like collective bargaining agreements. But that's a collective bargaining agreement condition that's based off of these annual like tuition rates. If that makes sense?
Yeah, because I see in some school district, they list the staff rates also.
The staff rates we have in the collective bargaining
That's
agreement
what I was
already,
wondering,
so
how needed.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I get it.
If we could, I don't know, if that would be a.
That could get confusing.
Yeah, and that's not for everybody anyway. It's only
I think it's for the supervisors, like collective bargaining agreement.
And also,
It's a
how do we
small-
determine these tuition rates? How do you determine these things?
It's in the long budget program. Like if you kind of look at, I can show it to you one time if you want to take a look at it.
Because some of those rates are very competitive, some of them are very low, some of them are very high.
It's all based on our budget, our enrollment, how many students we have in the sections, how many teachers we have. So that's why everybody's is different. I can show it to you sometime. It's pretty, comes right from the state budget.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure thing.
I have 2 questions.
Sure, go ahead. You were next. Go ahead.
3.17.
I'm not. Take a look at. Is that what it's called, or?
So, yeah.
3.1.
7, it's page 12.
I think. Do you mean 3?
No, it's on page, it's on page 12
Page
of
12.
this.
Oh, 317.
Is this somewhere else is this anywhere else? I felt like I was a little bit, I didn't know whether this was did we discuss this somewhere that I'm unaware of? Oh, okay, sorry. When I was reading it going, and of course I read it and wrote my notes down, and I'm like,
That's
no.
usually one of the 4 closed session items. That's why I reminded the superintendent at the end to give the update.
Thank you, okay.
No problem.
Sorry.
And you said you had a second one?
My mind was elsewhere, yeah. And there was one more, yes. For 3.25, are these changes just to the pickup schedule?
So no, so this is a service that we had in the past before I was here, and that was presented to us by the bank again to take care of. So we don't have this currently. I'm suggesting to the board to do this for basically two reasons. So our staff member isn't away from work. Our staff member isn't responsible for having the money and transport, and I'm transferring the responsibility over to the company, and it's for 10 months, and there's no cost.
With the option to renew at no cost in the future, or?
And they present it to us, and so.
Okay, thank you for your answers.
Yeah, no problem.
But there, we are gonna follow up with PD to make sure that they don't.
The delegated note of what your request is. Yeah, no problem.
I mean, the resolution does say associated fees, so I mean, I know your question was about the contract specifically, so.
So no,
That's good.
yes, he had a good question, so we're just gonna I'm gonna just do a blanket email to the bank to say to them that we're not gonna be liable, so we get it back from them, because they recommend that is a good idea, so I can take care of that before anything gets released. Very easy.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
What is this CDWG Google?
What number?
Sorry, 3.23.
That's for technology.
That's all.
CDWG is like is an approved vendor of technology services.
And I think the students will be using that, looks like subscription for students and staff.
Yeah, it's a Google Workspace platform, like it looks like. So it looks like it's for the district being procured through CDWG. Does that help or no?
I had to Google it when I go home.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward.
It's part of the company CDW, if you've ever heard of CDW.
Yeah.
CDWG is just a governmental entity
Yes.
that works with schools, so we get a discount.
Correct.
Does that help?
So it's CDW-G is the actual name. So
Yes.
CDW government.
Yeah, we buy things from them.
Yeah.
like all technology.
Everybody does.
All right, any other questions from the board? Hearing none, roll call please, Mr. Chaliano.
Top right.
So, as I said, with the policy. 1.3, policy 0142.1, optional section, no. And 3.7C, auditor, no.
How about all the other resolutions?
All the others, yes.
Would you want to repeat on the policy? Could you give a repeat on the policy one, please?
Yeah,
Just
policy
for the
number
record.
0142.1.
first policy.
Yeah.
Excellent, noted. Ms. Pfeffer?
Yes.
Ms. Spina?
Yes.
Ms. Franco Harmon?
Yes.
Ms. Worland?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Nunez?
Yes, contingent on that little chapter on 3.25.
Noted, thank you.
Everything but,
Ms. Targa?
everything except 3.7C.
So 3.7C, to clarify for the record, is a no, yes to everything else? Noted, thank you. Mr. Todd?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion's all carried. Thank you.
The Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public. Members of the public are allotted one opportunity to bring any new business to the board for up to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. All comments must be directed to the board. Before you make your comment, please state your full name and address and enter both on the Chromebook provided. Being mindful of privacy rights regarding students, board employees, and board members, and to avoid any potential liability on the part of the speaker, the board discourages defamatory and discourteous remarks. The public comment portions of the meeting are not structured as question and answer sessions. The board may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command, usually starting at the school level. Responses may be provided at the end of this session. Public comment session is now concluded.
Karen Anderson. Your executive session ran just about 2 hours, and you lost most of your public. There's very few people sitting behind me. So my opinion, if you truly cared about the public session and the public's voice, you would adjust your executive sessions and not plop them in the middle of the board meeting. And consider how, if you go back to the way you did it last year, where you did executive session first, and then people didn't have this long pause in the middle of the meeting. People left because I think they didn't even know there was public session left. They thought they didn't have an opportunity to speak. So, recommendation number 1, done. Recommendation number 2, no, this isn't a recommendation. The 3 newly elected board members who accepted monetary campaign donations from the NGEA and were also endorsed by the MTEA voted tonight on the school budget. Why did they not recuse themselves from the budget vote? Further, one of the 3 board members who works for the NGEA spent time commenting prior to the vote, influencing the vote, which I don't know that that's supposed to happen, but it sounded out of line. So, I'm not sure this vote was legal. Let me repeat, I'm not sure that vote was legal. I want to make sure that was clear because my voice, it's tired, it's late, and I'm tired. So that was the second topic. A bit more trivial than the vote concern, but of interest, is pay school account, which is used for the student lunches. I'm asking, why can't you simply credit all the accounts, the student senior accounts at the end of their year, so everyone gets their money back? Because I requested my money back after the tax hike. I think I need my $18.95. And I requested this, we go back and forth in email for a couple times, and then I'm asking, am I gonna get a check? And you say you're gonna cut a check. So after that email, a couple of days later, I get a letter, and I'm like, oh good, check. But what I get here is a voucher. I'm supposed to sign a form to get my $18 back and mail this voucher back to you. And then you're gonna use a third stamp to give me my check for $18.95, which I want interest on now, by the way. And on the back of the voucher, it says, this voucher is only supposed to be used for bills over $5,800. So why am I getting the voucher? Can't you just, and the money that's sitting in all these accounts, what are you guys doing with it? Because I have a feeling if everyone had to go through this, they gave up. So where is all that money? Okay, that's the third item.
That's time.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hi, my name is Dara Zimmer. I I live in Skillman. I am a art teacher at UMS. I teach Foundations of Art. I teach printmaking. I teach the graphic design class that you guys were talking about. And I just wanted to invite everyone to our art extravaganza, June 5th at 6 o'clock to I think 8 o'clock. There we have, it ranges the entire district of art. I encourage everyone to come. It is an amazing experience to see all of our students and their artwork and to see them in a different light rather than just them and their academics. And sometimes they don't bring home the artwork that they make, and so you don't get to see it. And they might be in the art show. So I encourage everyone to come again June 5th. Thank you. At the high school.
Anyone else? No. Okay. Karen Anderson, again, I've been to the art extravaganza multiple times because my kids' artwork was in there. They're awesome. I have to commend. I'm blown away when I go to that art extravaganza. You feel like you're in a museum. What these kids produce, it's amazing. I left out one comment before. I just want to clarify that one of the individuals who's on the board, recent election, works for the NJEE and has a direct conflict of interest voting on union affairs. So again, I'm concerned about the vote. Different topic. I'm actually speaking on behalf of another citizen of Montgomery, Nancy Castellino. I'm reading what she would have said if she would have been able to stay longer, but she wrote it out, so I'm going to have 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Her letter reads as the following. I'd like to begin by referring to the board's stated goal of addressing the potential risks of technology and social media and maintaining a safe and supportive school environment for students. In light of the recent incident involving AI-generated images of students, what specific policies and actions are in place to protect students, especially victims, and to ensure these matters are handled transparently and without any outside influence? I understand that laws like FERPA protect student identities, but they do not prevent acknowledging that an incident occurred or explaining how it was handled. The law protects the identity of the student, not the incident itself. There is a difference. Incidents can be communicated in a way that does not disclose identities or sensitive details. Protecting privacy should not come at the expense of accountability. My concern, again, this is Nancy, my concern here is whether the rights of victims were given the same priority as protecting confidentiality. If there was prior knowledge of similar incidents involving the very same student, what processes are in place to ensure appropriate action is taken when needed? And finally, what is the board's policy regarding involvement of local law enforcement in serious incidents like this? And how do you ensure investigations are handled independently and appropriately? Why should residents have to rely on outside investigations? Residents would appreciate clarity on these points. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Superintendent McLaughlin, anything you'd like to address? Anything else? All right, any closing comments from the board?
I have a closing comment. Despite all the issues and questions that we discussed tonight, I still want to close my statement by expressing appreciation for the teachers and staff in the school district. There are many strong aspects of our schools, supported by dedicated educators, engaged students, and committed families. Just for example, February we heard the high school expanded concurrent enrollment opportunities for many courses, and Mary presented that. Last Friday, Mentor International Night was truly a wonderful showcase. 14 countries were represented. Students performed 18 different cultural performances, including singing, martial art, dance across our schools. Events like this reflect the richness of our community and the meaningful work happening in our classroom every day. So I respect the outcome of tonight's budget vote. However, I want to note several concerns about the process that led us here. The board was asked to make a recommendation on March 10th before the state funding had been finalized. Since that, I understand the BA had worked really hard on that, but I don't believe there were any substantive changes to the line items presented at the subsequent budget hearings or after the April Finance Committee meeting. So board members raised questions throughout the process. Some of them were answered, some of them were not fully answered. So in addition, when the 2023 full-day kindergarten referendum was presented to the public, I believe there were errors in how financial projections were communicated. That experience underscored the importance of accuracy and transparency in long-term planning. At the same time, I want to acknowledge something important about our community. In 2024, when a board seat opened twice, many residents stepped forward to serve. Benita, Julius, Catherine, and I all chose to run because we care deeply about this school district. I also want to encourage more residents to consider running for the Board of Education this year, every year. The district benefits from leaders who bring a clear, measurable vision for student success. This is an unpaid role, and it requires a significant commitment of time and energy. But if working parents, like many of us on this board, can make that commitment to serve over 4,000 students, then others in this community can as well. Montgomery deserves strong leadership that is transparent, accountable, and consistently focused on ensuring every student has the opportunity they need to survive. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, at this time I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Robert moved second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same right. Stand adjourned. Thank you all for staying and coming out.